Exactly. We're doing double time on our episodes now.
Are we back live?
We're live now.
We're good.
So not only are we the longest running live arcade podcast, we had the shortest ever episode.
Yeah.
That's good.
So is this technically episode 252 now?
Yeah. So I'll do a
We're
quick
live.
intro.
We're good.
Welcome to the Arcade Hangout and Crud, season 2, episode 251 or point B. We're a bunch of friends that like to get together and chat and talk arcade machines and other fun things. Group of collectors. And tonight we have a special guest, Ed Logg, and we'll talk about his list of accomplishments and games. And when you think of classic arcade machines, there's definitely a lot of his games come to mind. So we get to pick his brain a little bit, which is gonna be fun. So
quite the list.
Yes. So with that, anybody want to start off or?
Harry, tell us that story again.
What game was that?
We're not gonna.
We're usually much smoother than this. We're just rusty. We've been out of practice because we've been off the air for a month
and a half.
Yeah.
Totally forgot how to do everything.
And we're not going to force you to play any games and stuff before we get to the interview. We're just going to jump right in. We don't do that here.
I don't want to, so I had just said on when we had the show 251.1A that tomorrow I'm getting a new game, which is one of the few games that Ed has not worked on. It's an Exodus Circus.
Yes. And you're getting that tomorrow, which is awesome.
Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow. So fingers crossed it arrives working and still in good, in one piece. That's always the next bit of excitement is it's here. Is it working? What does it look like? So fingers crossed.
Was that something you were looking for, or just kind of popped up and you went fun to have?
No, it popped up and it was. I mean, I had a blast playing it, and when the hell else am I going to see one of those? Like never. So
pretty much.
And the problem is I had space because I had sold Tales from the Crypt, and so I have this space that I'm holding for when I pick up another pin, and I haven't done that yet, and it's just like taunting me, and so I had to fill it with something. I mean, I think it's like, but I've kept it empty for like 3 or 4 months, maybe even 5, because it was the very beginning of the pandemic. I know, yeah, golly, it's actually not even been 6 months. I mean, that's a really long time to have space in your garage taunting you. So, yeah, what is it? The universe abhors a vacuum. So there you go. There was
Didn't last long.
It lasted like 6 months.
So you can get rid of a pin and put 2 games there, but who's going to do that? Because you got nice pins, so.
Yeah, well, they'd have to be back to back. They'd have to kind of stack this way because I don't have the wall space.
Did you finally sell your Tales from the Crypt pin?
Yeah, that's the one I sold.
Okay, that's gone. So, and were you gonna replace that with another pin or not?
Yeah, probably Funhouse.
Funhouse, that's right.
Oh, nice.
That's how you told us that. Okay. Cool.
Well, she has to sell the game that she's getting tomorrow in order to put that pin there.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, now I'm going through my collection with an eye towards what will I call when eventually I do get the Funhouse, and yeah, everybody's going to have to shift. And so then what goes? And I have an idea. I mean, actually, I can say it's probably going to be my Mortal Kombat because I use that primarily with the J-Rock, and I can put the Multi-Williams. I can put that in my Defender and just get a new, do a multi for the control panel, and then I can jettison Mortal Kombat that I really got for my daughter because she wanted a beat 'em up, and that's just not my style. I like space shooters.
Yeah.
What?
Popping
Big
balloons.
Space shooter.
I know, right? And that might just be a segue.
I think it is.
So yes, we gotta say thank you, Ed, for coming on our show.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for being
Can
here.
You hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. All right. So I was looking through your list of accomplishments, which is like a huge list. I just have a quick question before we jump into some of your classic stuff. I saw here that you had worked on Cyberball. Was that What's the special thanks mean when I'm looking on this list? You know, did you actually program some of that, or what? What was your involvement with that game?
I had no involvement with that game,
Oh,
and I don't know why John put me in there.
okay. So they just listed you in a credit as special thanks too.
I'd have to ask John Solwitz that.
Okay. Never mind then. Sorry.
Failed.
My guess is
wondering
they
what that was
probably
about.
stole some of your design or code from a different game to like make that one, and that's where they're like, "Hey, thanks for the freebie."
Yeah, he's got special thanks on a lot of games like Roadrunner and.
Well, Roadrunner I worked on.
So you did work on Roadrunner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did the original Laserdisc version.
Oh, sweet.
wow.
And they wanted,
We
they wanted me
talked
to
about
do
that on our
a
show. That
port to
someone.
System 1, and I told them no thanks. I had a better idea.
Yes, we've seen the footage of it from CAX. Someone filmed it. Someone had that prototype that had the Laserdisc cutaways feature, which we all thought was really awesome. It's too bad that the Laserdisc was so finicky that you couldn't put that in, because I think that would have made that game so much cooler. You know.
Well, yeah, it was like it's perfect as a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you worked on Roadrunner, I can ask you this question. The prototype that has the Laserdisc cutaways, it didn't make it necessary to eat the seeds. It was like that was kind of like a bonus thing to eat seeds. And then later, when the final game came out, you had to eat those seeds. Otherwise, if you missed, I think 5 of them or something, you lose a life or something like that. Was that something that Atari said, "Oh, you got to make this harder," or what was your decision making there to change that to make it instead of just points to make it a necessary?
I just got it up to the Laserdisc version, got it running. They field tested it several places, and with all of our field tests, if they do really well, you go to production. If they don't, they kill it. Well, this game earned enough not to kill it, but not enough that they would absolutely positively put it in production, especially since all the operators were complaining about the Laserdisc drives dying after weeks, months, whatever, the continuous usage. And so they wanted me to port it to System 1. And as I said, I told them I had a better idea. I'd rather work on my new idea than do that. So I think it went off to Norm Avalar and Greg Rivera. And they finished porting it over to System 1. Have you ever seen a System 1 board? It's
Yep, I have a few of them actually.
Is it behind Arcade Danger there?
Yeah, he's got it right there, right?
So I have another interesting story about System 1 too. Because after Roadrunner, I did another game called Gauntlet, and
Yes.
they wanted me to put it on System 1. I told them absolutely not. And besides, I had to have some special hardware modifications made so that I could do what I wanted to do. It was called Mach 24 at Atari, because you could have more than 16 objects on a scan line. Pat McCarthy did a good enough job where that if you weren't using a motion object, it would actually be, it would not waste a whole motion object's worth of computation time to draw it. It would just use a fraction of it, so you could draw more motion objects per scan line.
So more characters on screen at a time, more enemies on screen at a time.
Which you would have needed for a Gauntlet, right?
Yes.
Was Gauntlet? You said that when you were working on Roadrunner, you had something better or a better idea you wanted to work on. Was that Gauntlet or was that Mod 24? Oh,
that
Gauntlet. Okay.
And originally they wanted me to put on System 1, and because Robin Ziegler and I had actually written up that game concept earlier based on the game Dandy that I saw on the ST, as well as my son's trying to get me to do a D&D game. And I couldn't figure out how to do a D&D game until I saw Dandy. And after that, I could figure out how to do it.
What, man, I can't imagine. Can you, I'm trying to picture what Gauntlet would have looked like on a System 1 cabinet, because you wouldn't have been able to have 4 players crowded around that.
Well, that's part of the issues. I wanted to have 4 players. And to do that, you had to have the monitor, well, you couldn't be, straightforward, because people off the side wouldn't get a good view. So you have to sort of flatten it down. You can't put a Plex in front of it, because that creates a glare off of the fluorescence in the arcade or whatever lights you have in the house. And so I had to do without a plexiglass. Now the operators bitched and moaned that, we've never had a game without a Plex before in front, because people would break the monitor. And we showed them dropping ball bearings on a monitor.
Yeah, I mean, what's your television set, right? You know, that's all. I do totally remember that in the arcade. Like, this one's weird. You can like actually touch the screen if you want to. You know?
Yes.
I don't remember. I remember playing it, but I don't remember that the monitor's got nothing over it.
It just has the
Nothing
molded
over it.
plastic.
That was one of the
inside.
weird things.
Oh
yeah.
wow!
I didn't know it was because of
playing
glare,
it, but I
though.
wouldn't notice as a kid. I didn't notice. I was just like, wow.
And of course, we had to have a metal bezel around it so that they couldn't get into the cabinet instead of cardboard stuff. So there were a lot of real uphill battles I had with Gauntlet. Certainly the monitor, we got a 25-inch monitor. That was good because I wanted a lot of real estate. And certainly they had to have no bezel in front of it. And getting 4 people around it, and marketing kept telling me, no, you can't get 4 people on, you can't get 4 people to play a game.
You can't do that. Well, yes, I can.
Well, it turns out I could, and it worked.
And the operator must have loved that game. It was a quarter eater for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are all sorts of stories, actually with all my games, but certainly with Gauntlet, because when we field test, we take it out to an arcade, we tell the operator, don't tell anybody you got it. Don't tell anybody how well it earns. And, and tell us what it earns as well as all your best games, just so we have a comparison. And we put it out in a small little arcade in Saratoga, El Paseo de Saratoga, the small little mall there. And I came back 3 days later, and here's David Rosen of Sega with a couple of Japanese engineers photographing the game.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, crap.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Secret's out.
Yeah.
Apparently it earned so much the first few days that, and Gauntlet was really interesting too, because usually when you get a new game in, it takes away from other games. Instead of playing the other game, they put money into the new game. Gauntlet wasn't that way. It just brought new money into the arcade. That was the first time I think I'd ever seen that. And they used to put a little sign up limiting the number of quarters that people could, to line up. Because when I was there, the whole bezel was lined with quarters.
Right.
Played forever. I remember you couldn't even get on it sometimes, or you had to wait till someone ran out of quarters and then jump on and take their place and keep going with the adventure, that kind of thing.
Right. Or someone would like preempt and drop in 4 or 5 at a time.
Right.
And then have the extra health built up and then go down.
Yeah. Why'd you shoot the health, you?
Well, you can't imagine plaque and I was getting from marketing. It says what does the game doesn't end? And I said, you're right, it can't end. Because if people put a bunch of money in, there's nothing I can do. I can just let them play it.
Yeah.
And marketing, no, you got to have an ending. Nope, I can't have an ending.
Well, there you go, Mark. You were wondering about that. That's a perfect answer to that question.
Yeah. I was gonna say, doesn't it loop at 99 or something like that, and it starts over at 10 or something?
I think it has 105, 106, 110 levels, something like that. The first 6 are always fixed, but the remainder, about 100 of them, I flip them and do all sorts of massaging to them to make them look different. They're the same maze, they're just oriented different. Horizontal flip, vertical flip.
Nice.
Flip.
Clever.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I just got to a new level. Oh wait.
Yeah. Hold on here. So, did you have just as much involvement with Gauntlet 2, or with that with the programming of that?
Yes, Bob Flanagan and I did the programming in Gauntlet, and we also did all the programming on Gauntlet 2.
So was Atari coming to you saying, hey, the Gauntlet was so great, make us a sequel, and did they give you any kind of rules to go by of for the sequel, add some bosses or something, or what was that like?
Well, we had some ideas that we didn't implement in Gauntlet, and we certainly wanted to put them into Gauntlet 2. And it's the first time I think I've ever done a sequel other than Millipede. I guess it's not really a sequel, but I guess you can call it a sequel.
That's a sequel.
Yeah, spiritual successor, certainly.
But generally, I don't do sequels. I try to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
But Centipede, I definitely wanted to do a sequel to as well, because it really did well. I couldn't figure out how to do a Asteroid sequel, although people tried with Asteroids 2 and Space Duel and stuff like that.
Deluxe, yeah. Was there anything in Gauntlet 2 that you wanted to put in that you couldn't, or didn't have time to do, or anything like that?
I certainly don't remember that. And we had the Gauntlet 2 contest, and we did a good promotion off of that. And I don't know how much it helped and stuff like that.
What was the contest? I don't remember.
I don't know that at all.
Yeah.
First, some number of people to get through, basically beat the dragon, or you had some. I don't remember all the details now, but there was a final dragon that you could beat.
Oh.
And you had to qualify for by doing something in their secret, the treasure levels or something to that effect.
I remember playing Gauntlet 2 long enough that I got to a couple of the dragons. They'd come across and just like fill up the entire, space you could walk in, basically the hallway.
Yeah.
And they had the different patterns for the fireballs that would shoot out, and those are proper pain in the butt. I don't remember. Yeah, was it like a T-shirt giveaway, like a Road Blasters kind of thing, or what was the?
No, I think it was prize money. Hang on a minute.
Now I'm curious. It was a new car.
Yeah. No, I've got my old notes.
Wins the game.
That's not in that folder. When I left Atari, I was a good citizen and didn't take any of the stuff.
No.
I wish I had. But when I came back to Atari and they closed down Milpitas, they were going to take all the stuff and put it in 18-wheeler and haul it off to Midway in Chicago, and who knows what would have happened to it. So I Xeroxed some stuff.
There you go.
Nice.
And here's a Gauntlet 2 contest. Okay, play Gauntlet 2, find your way to the secret room, complete your assigned task, enter your name and last name, record your personalized secret code, and mail your completed official entry form to Atari Games. The first 500 valid entrants will receive an official Gauntlet 2 player T-shirt.
Yeah, there you go.
Secret rooms, any maze could include an opportunity to enter a secret room, and so on and so on. So I'm just looking at the flyer that was sent out.
That's awesome.
Huh.
So do you have any memory whatsoever of how to actually do that?
No,
I do remember like the secret rooms were a pain, and there was like crazy rooms where like all the walls became exits or some crazy.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
The treasure rooms,
that's in Gauntlet.
That's in Gauntlet with the time runs out.
Oh, that's right. It's the time running out.
Somebody didn't get a key, or or just got totally lost. I didn't want to just them eat everybody's quarters waiting to get out of the level. So I would just turn all the walls to exits and let them get out of there.
Oh,
but you have to waste a fair amount of money to do that.
Invest.
Yes, there you go.
Investing in the experience.
So that was like the original in-game purchase, right? Keep playing. Another quarter.
Nice.
You didn't get to increase your character though.
Yeah.
I'd be curious in what was the most amount of money that somebody put into one single Gauntlet game. If there's 4 of them, like from the time it started to the time it ended.
Oh man.
Or like what was the super high end? Like, man, these guys just pumped between the 4
I have
of them.
no idea.
It's got to be enormous. Like they just
sure the coin
Could have bought a couple of machines.
Probably.
I just don't know. But I do know I was at one AMOA or something, and some guy from Toronto came by. Oh, I want to shake your hand. Your game won more money than any other game ever in history. He made like $2,400 in a week.
Oh man, that's so much money, especially back then.
Well,
oh my God, yeah.
It probably cost him about $2,800 to buy the game. That's like an ROI of 1 week.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's holy
Amazing.
Yeah.
25 cents at a time.
Ed, do you have any arcade games yourself, or did you used to have any at home?
Oh yeah, I used to have all sorts of them. Let's see, I had 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. I had 9.
Nice.
Oh.
And they were.
What were they? Yes.
8 of them were mine, and 1 of them was my wife's.
What is she like?
Well, she liked asteroids and bought one before she met me.
Wow.
Wow.
She's a keeper.
Yep. About asteroids?
Yeah.
We had 2 asteroids in our house for a while.
Oh,
Is it hers?
Garage. Hers was in the house.
Naturally.
Okay. And who came up with the cool? It probably wasn't you. It was probably some other Atari thing or something. But I really like on the asteroids the coin mech for it, the Owl Eyes coin mech that's on that. I just thought that was kind of cool and unique. You don't
The
see
circular
that.
where you push it
Yeah,
in
there's
straight
two. You
instead
put
of
them
it aside.
flat.
Yeah.
I don't remember that coin door.
That's kind of
yeah.
like almost like old school gumball machines. But
I know what you're talking
turn
about. I don't remember that on my gauntlets.
Not
No,
on Gauntlet,
no,
on
Asteroids.
Asteroids.
You know, slide it right in.
Yeah.
The original Asteroids had it where it was like a gumball machine kind of where you put it in flat.
There's two of them. That's what I call Owl Eyes.
Yeah.
Like a sticker machine almost.
I don't remember that.
Can somebody find a picture on the net and bring it up?
Well, I was going to say I had a picture out in the garage. I could have probably gotten the sales flyer and see a picture on that.
Were you ever a Robotron fan?
I was a big Robotron fan. I actually owned a Robotron. That was one of the games in my house.
Okay, cool.
And so, yeah, I really like
there.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
I just think it's a cool looking mech that, you just don't see that kind of thing. There was not many machines that I can remember had that.
Yeah, primarily on asteroids.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Lander too.
My
Lunar Lander,
Starship One has Owl Eyes in it.
Wasn't it just older games? Wasn't that like the end of it? That's
Probably.
why this Asteroids is so popular. We saw it because we also pretty much saw Asteroids. Yeah.
Well, it may have come from the Lunar Lander cabinet. Because Asteroids is just a Lunar Lander PC board that's slightly modified to have different audio. But it's basically got the same video engine. And I think the same ROM space too.
Was your wife a fan of Centipede, like most women out there that raved about that game?
She was more into Asteroids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, isn't that weird that was like a phenomenon? Like when you go into arcades, a lot of women love playing Centipede. It was just like, that was their game.
Yeah, I can't explain that either, other than shooting bugs is probably appropriate for them.
Hey, you had a hand in Centipede, right?
Yes.
And it was a collaboration with
Donna Bailey.
Donna Bailey, okay.
Yeah, I had hired Donna Bailey, and we were trying to get a project for her to work on. And I went through the list of brainstorming ideas, and I saw an idea called Bug Shooter. So I wrote up a proposal to it. The Bug Shooter was more or less, you're in a screen shooting bugs. And that was basically I have the actual brainstorm idea. I could bring it up. I'll probably find it and read it to you if you want. And then I wrote a proposal that was modified to that. And it's got notes from Dan Van Elderen on it, where he basically wrote back saying, "Are you sure?" You basically are sure, and et cetera, et cetera.
And did you came up with the mushrooms and mushroom regenerating and all that kind of thing? And
well, I came up with the Centipede Lake movement, and told her how to implement that, and showed her how to do that, and the animations for it. I think a lot Dave Ralston or others probably drew some of the characters. And if you're probably familiar enough with the game and dump the ROMs, you'll see a grasshopper in there too. It was not part of the game.
Oh, that didn't make it, kind of thing?
Didn't make it as part of the game.
It's in the graphics ROMs.
All right, new hack.
All right. The reason for that is the grasshopper.
Let's get Crafty Mac on it.
Yeah, the grasshopper was there to jump on you if you didn't move. So I was worried about getting to a situation where you didn't have to move; you could stay in one spot and just shoot stuff. So I had the grasshopper. But during the first review, Dan Van Elderen suggested, "Why don't you shoot the mushrooms?" Because the original game idea had a fixed field of mushrooms. And I went home that night, thought about it, said, "Yeah, that makes a really nice, interesting idea." So I added the flea, which dropped them. The spider would eat them up. You could shoot them up. You get extra points at the end of a level to give yourself a little bit of time break and to give you a little extra bonus, hoping to break that 12,000 point barrier to give you an extra life.
Yeah.
And so it worked out very well. And so that really added a lot to the game. And that's something that doesn't happen much at Atari when you're getting a suggestion that actually works. Most of the time you get suggestions like, don't use a trackball, use a joystick.
Yeah.
Right.
And I roll my eyes, and Centipede has code for a joystick, but there's no way you can play that with a joystick.
No,
Oh,
wouldn't look the same.
Yeah.
We were joking before the show started about why doesn't Asteroids have a joystick? So,
I'll answer that question for you if you want to know.
Yeah.
please.
I was at Stanford AI Lab in around 1971 or so, and they had Space War, 4-player Space War on the PDP machine. And the guys had a little silver box and a left and right joystick and hyperspace, and you shoot and thrust and all that. So basically, I stole the controls from that game when I did Asteroids.
Cool.
It's also Time Runner.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something like kickbacks from the Button Mafia, but that's okay. This is a good answer. I like it. It's nice.
So yes, the ship came from there, and a lot of the ideas came.
So
from
more on Asteroids. You're the kind of the original creator of the concept of the game.
Well, Lyle Raines called me in his office, and he had an idea for. He said, "Remember this other game we used to play?" And I did the same thing. We walked. It's a big asteroid machine, and our object was to do something else. But everybody kept shooting the asteroid, hoping it would do something. Piece of something would happen. And that's the first thing I did when I played the game too. Is I'd shoot the big asteroid, hoping something would happen, because the rest of the gameplay was really sucked. And it never made it production.
And then I always kind of wondered, because like you said, Lunar Lander was the precursor in that cabinet, right? Was Atari like, we got to come up with some other game? We're sitting in all these empty cabinets that we need to get out the door, or anything like that?
That was not the case for Asteroids.
Okay.
So Lyle suggested the idea, why don't we shoot the asteroids and break them up? And I said, okay, let's make them into smaller pieces, and I'll have to have a ship come in and shoot at you if you don't do anything. So that should work. And of course, you want to shoot big pieces, and you don't want to shoot them randomly, because that just creates a mess on the screen, and you have to avoid being shot. So the idea was to have some kind of strategy of shoot one big, shoot its pieces up, and then maybe go after another one. And so I did it. I'd already done the alphanumerics on Lunar Lander, so I was very familiar with the hardware. And Lyle wanted to do it in raster, and I told him, no way. Raster is 320 by 240. And you could hardly make a ship that size. You could hardly tell which way it's pointing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Lunar Lander is 1024 by 768. And it's a much finer, the black and white is so much easier to see. You don't have that phosphor. There's a 3-dot phosphor, makes it really blurry. And then you don't have that problem with asteroids. Now, something I did not consider is when you shoot the shot, it creates a phosphor trail.
Oh, yes.
And that's something that really added to asteroids that was totally unintentional.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So yes, Lyle suggested the idea. I came up with the idea of the 3 different sizes, the asteroids and the saucers. The saucer would come in and shoot you.
But to give some credit to the raster version, I'll say, when I grew up, I had the Atari 400 home console with the keyboard.
Yep.
And Asteroids, that's the game my brother and I would play, and we'd be up all night long till the sun came up in the summertime. that game was like super addictive. Even though it was like the same thing over and over, we just had to keep playing.
That's the same with the 2600.
And that was just a joystick and one
version
button.
too.
I don't even remember like what the tricks were with the joystick, because you got to be able to do a shield, right? No,
that was down. So up was thrust, left was rotate left, right was rotate right.
Back was hyperspace.
Yeah, Atari added, or the 2600 added the shield concept, but it wasn't of course in the arcade. So
but it also had the option to hyperspace depending on which mode you were playing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
I think wasn't it where you turned for the shield, you turned into a circle, and the asteroids would just pass through you. I don't think it bounced you around or anything like that.
But you couldn't hold it for too long, because then you'd blow up.
Yeah, you'd blow up.
Okay.
True.
That's funny.
Yeah, I first played it on the 2600, and then when I played it, I played it in the arcade and with all the buttons, and it kicked my ass because I was good at the 2600, and that was just a whole different creature. So much fun.
I remember being in arcades, and across the entire floor you could see that trail from the shot because it's so bright and vibrant. Like it would catch your eye from like across the whole room because it was the contrast and the glow from that phosphor.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't duplicate that.
Back in my heyday in the arcade, that Asteroids was always the last game I played with my last quarter because I could last a long time on one quarter. So I'm like, I'm almost out of money. It's my last quarter. All right, Asteroids it is.
Push that quarter out.
So Ed, was the concept later when people were able to, I don't say marathon that game, where they would just keep one little asteroid alive and they would just keep going up, and then shoot the little spaceship as they appear. Is that something that when you saw that, did you get pissed off and go, damn it?
Well, I have. Let me tell you a few stories about that. First of all, the way game works is there's a counter that counts down before the saucer shoots, and if you killed him just before he shot, the instant he came in, he'd shoot again. So if you're near the edge, and sometimes the screens, because the phosphor will, the screen size will grow or shrink depending on how hot and cold it is. It could be off the screen, so you may not even see him come in, shoot, and you die before who shot me? Where did he come from? I don't even see him. And so the first thing I did is, okay, I'll give you a second before he shoots. So I set the timer to a minimum of a second before he shoots. Now that was probably my first mistake. What I should have done is just decrease that timer, slowly over time. But I actually tried lurking because I was familiar with that strategy when I played Space War on the PDP machine, even out of the Stanford Forum in 1972. So I was familiar with it, and I tried it. I was not particularly good at it. What I really kicked myself for is not limiting the number of lives.
Oh.
Not simply saying, I'll let you do that play as long as you can, but I'm not going to give you more than 6 lives or 8 lives or something.
So is it unlimited? I mean, can you go forever? Or is it cap out at 256 or not? It just keeps going.
You could probably go out to 256. I had 1 byte for the number of lives, so I don't know what would happen if you wrapped it. I don't know if it would go to 0 or not.
Right.
I'd have to look at the code. But somebody showed me a video of once where the lives ran all the way across the screen, and it slows down the game because I have to draw everything.
Interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, that's what I really objected to, knowing that, because I played Star Castle. Well, I played Star Castle after Asteroids. I could play it forever.
Oh.
Pile of lives too.
Wow.
What's the record on Asteroids? Does anybody know offhand?
9999.
Or I mean, the hours played.
God.
2 or 3 days.
You're talking days.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you were involved with video pinball too, right?
Yes.
Which came out first, video pinball or Asteroids?
Video pinball did first.
It did. Okay.
I came right out. It was my second game I released. My first game was Super Breakout.
Oh, awesome.
Wow. Oh, love that game
Video
too.
pinball was
Yes.
given to me by my boss, Dave Stubman, at the time. Said, I have this idea to do pinball and video. With a half-silvered mirror. And
it holds up really well.
Yeah.
Like people still are collector.
That was one I totally forgot about.
Love that game.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So good.
The mechanics where the control panel, you can actually, move it and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we used to throw with our buddy Steve at Grinkers in Idaho. We would have an arcade tournament, and we put video pinball in a couple times. I think didn't we have it in the tournament a couple times?
I think
For sure.
I think twice. Yeah, for sure.
At least
once.
twice. Yeah. So we'd all fly out. A couple hundred of us would fly out to Idaho and have this big arcade tournament at this arcade in Idaho called Grinkers. And unfortunately, that was a victim of COVID. We lost that arcade. But yeah, we all miss it. But yeah, that was when that's where we all got to play it. That's where first time I saw it was there. I never saw it in the wild as a kid.
And on paper, I have to say, on On paper, it sounds terrible to me. It's like, why wouldn't I play pinball on pinball? Why would I play?
Yeah.
And the thing is that I had video pinball on Atari 2600. There were other video video game versions of pinball, but until you played on on that cabinet where it has the physics and everything, it just seems silly to me. And then you play it, and it's like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it's never like. I just don't like. It blows my mind that someone thought of that and was like, this would be a good idea, because it just sounds like if you pitch that to someone, until you explain to them that you can do all this stuff and it's going to have the same mechanics and physics, it just seems like a silly idea. Like it seems like something that would be turned down.
Well, actually, as I said, my boss proposed it to me, and my reaction was the same as yours. Why would I play this? I could go play a real pinball.
Right.
Get the physics perfect,
Yeah.
But it worked out well enough,
They actually made a second game too with the same cabinet, right? Was it like in Europe only or something?
Atari didn't. Maybe somebody else made something out of it.
Huh. I'm gonna have to look it up, because I swear there was like Art Kit, and it was like in the same era, but I don't remember the name of it. Maybe someone in the IRC can mention if they know.
Good question.
Come on, Gak, use your mutant power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose idea was it? Whose idea was it to have the red LEDs back there? Because that just sort of even just adds more to the magic. You know what I mean? It's like not only is it a simulation, but there's physical things that happen with those lights that make it just akin to playing real pinball.
Well, the nudge was probably Dave Steuben's idea. I don't think it was mine.
Mm-hmm.
The idea, of course, of video pinball is there's places you can put a video game, but you can't put a pinball game. And, that was his reasoning for trying it.
Ah, that makes sense.
That's great. I actually am getting one in. I bought it from Coin Op Warehouse. It's coming in tomorrow morning. So.
Oh, nice.
It's good times. Anybody else own one?
Oh, I thought I saw it. I thought that was, yeah.
Yep, that was me.
Can't say. Yeah, you've picked up quite a few from Coin Op Warehouse. I've noticed on my Facebook feed. Are you opening up a new arcade?
That's correct. You're invited. Grinkers too.
Yes.
Electric
Right, wear your
Boogaloo.
mask.
Don't tease. I'm ready.
I just want to try out your phone booth.
Though, that's like, yeah. Just yeah. What kind of calls can Gak make?
There we go. There's this picture.
I was going to say, there it is.
There's the Ally coin door.
It's
Yeah, just say
interesting because that
Coin
makes
door
me
as well.
talking about a smaller footprint and simulation makes me think of like Slick Shot and Super Strike Bowling, where it's like just a you got the felt or whatever, and the mini pool stick and and then the video screen. Those are two games that I've come across a couple times, and I've been tempted because they never command a lot of money, but they're so deep. The cabinet is so deep that it's like it's a hard place to put, and then essentially you're playing, like it's either bowling or even though you're using like a pool ball for the bowling and then with the pool. But again, it's like it's such a cool concept though. But I've never actually seen them out in the wild. So that's one of those things where it's like, well, I'd like to buy this game, but then I'm committed to it. And what if it's not? Actually, Mark, didn't you own Slick Shot or I think of someone else? Slick Shot or Super Strike? You know what I'm talking about, like the hat.
Yeah, I know the whole theme song to the Super Strike. I do have an extra one that I'm trying to like turn into a Slick Shot, but you have to get a different control panel, and just they don't seem to fall off the trees.
Tough,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Going back to asteroids, Owen Rubin's in the chat, by the way, Ed, and he was asking why for some time his initials wouldn't go into the game.
Did he tell you the story behind that?
No, I think you get to tell the story.
Yeah, he wants you to
Well,
tell.
I'll tell you this. I go home at night. I was an atypical programmer. I'd show up at 8:30 and go home at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I'd go home, I come back in the morning after I put a high score table in asteroids, and it'd be ORR, all 10 scores, ORR. So Ed Rotberg came up and said, I'm tired of seeing that. Can't you just blank it out if somebody puts in ORR? I said, sure. Come in the next day and there's a bug in your game. I can't enter my initials. Scratch it. I'll go look into that. Then he got smart and put OR space. So I had to put OR space, O space R, space OR.
The original guide list.
A pencil and an eraser. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Is that still in the game code?
No.
Oh.
Now you enter it and it just freezes the game.
No, we have
Orville Redenbacher.
We had the Gene Lipkin kill switch, which you guys probably not aware of. Gene Lipkin was head of marketing, and he was notorious for coming in and looking and said, basically what the bleep is this, kill it.
Oh no.
Everybody would put in a kill switch. So when Gene Lipkin came around, what are you doing? Well, I'm working on my game. What is it? Well, I'd like to show you, but it's not working right now. Come back later.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that was self-preservation, man.
Yeah.
And that's how
terrible. You had to do stuff like
Can't set the bar too high too fast. Yeah.
You can ask Owen Rubin. He'll tell you a story about a driving game he was working on.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And he killed something great in that, probably. Yeah. How frustrating. So I also saw on your list that you worked on Zybots.
Correct.
Who'd you work on with that on that one? Or was that
Bob Flanagan? Actually, that was supposed to be a
I remember.
A Gauntlet 3. Then marketing came to me and said, no more Gauntlet. We don't want any more Gauntlet. No more Gauntlet characters, nothing. And I kowtowed to it and made up 2 characters along the lines of Major Havoc. And
so it was supposed to be Gauntlet characters in the mazes done in 3D then, right?
Yes.
Interesting. That would have been a kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. The real impetus behind that was, I think I was talking to Doug Snyder or something, and I said, we don't have bitmap hardware, so I can't do rotations. But I bet you if I do 30, 45, 60, and 90-degree rotations, I could, because our hardware was basically bitmap with a few motion objects. A few growth motion objects. And so I said, maybe I could do it all in stamps. So I sat down with some graph paper and mapped it out. And sure enough, I could do it all in stamps. So in little 8x8 stamps, I could do rotation if the walls are all perpendicular. So that was just to prove that I could do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, if
we were just playing that. Kerry has a Zybots.
Yeah, he's got it up there.
So if you would have done a Gauntlet, that means you would have all sorts of creatures and different monsters to shoot.
Shooting at you and stuff like that.
You'd have like a Thor guy throwing his axe and an archer shooting his arrow. That would have been cool.
I'm sorry. That's one of the things I actually kowtowed to him, and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
Usually it's, as I said, it's usually a fight over joysticks versus trackball or something like that, And
yeah, were they really stern on that, saying absolutely not, no more Gauntlet, we're done with that, we want some space age?
I won't name the guilty party.
No, you don't have to do that, but yeah, I could see your frustration with that.
We can do that off air.
Yeah, the off show. Yeah, no, I could see that's really sucks. Oh man, I would have liked to seen that.
Yeah, those are some. Speaking of joysticks, Zybots, those are some monster joysticks.
Joysticks.
Repaired. I just repaired one of Carrie's the right player side, and
Carrie has
it's fascinating how they work. Yeah, we were just playing it the other.
Doesn't it have a really long?
There's like these metal
yeah,
parts.
Thing.
They're an analog. They're an analog joystick, not a normal joystick that is left right button. So it's an analog joystick, and there's a problem with that because because the values are inconsistent between machines over time perhaps. And so what I did is put an algorithm in to try to figure out where center is and left and right is. But when I went out on field test, it was out on St. James Infirmary, if you remember that place off of Moffett Boulevard. It really cool place. I loved it before it burned down. But I went in there to check on it, and some lady had put her purse on it, which of course brought the joystick down left, so it means you couldn't turn right.
Oh no.
Yeah, it thought that far right was center.
I mean, that happens with any analog joystick, right? It's like if you start it up in the wrong position, that's center.
Well,
and so everything's
I didn't
relative
take the
from that
starting
point.
position. I did a running read on it.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
if you're just hanging off to the left, leave it there. Eventually I think that's center because it has a return to center function.
Oh man.
There are a lot of stories you guys don't know about.
And that's why we got you on here.
You want to hear some stories? I'll tell you some stories.
Sure.
We're all ears.
All right, hold on. I just got done searching. I found it. It's called Solar War.
Oh, I remember that game.
So that's like an alternate of video pinball.
Yeah, I know. That sounds familiar, but I don't remember anything about it.
I don't know if it was like a hack or it says it was by Atari in 1979.
You have a picture that you can show us, Gak?
Let's see. I'll put it in our chat here. I don't know if there's better pictures than that. I just kind of finally found that one.
Oh, yeah.
As you can tell, I'm not Irene. This is my wife's Mac. So.
Oh yeah, I hope you don't mind. I renamed you.
Switch the name later. Yeah. That's fine.
If you prefer Irene, I can change it back.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah. That's an interior joke, along with the lines that I sleep like a log every night.
Oh.
Literally.
Wow.
Anyway, I was going to tell you a story about.
There's a picture of the cabinet at an angle on that last thing I sent in the chat.
Oh,
in our
somebody bring it up.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Since you got two views.
The Arcade History Solar War.
I knew there was one. I just couldn't remember the name. But I think it was only like a prototype or something.
Oh,
well,
it's the same.
There's a picture of the cabinet like at a 3/4 angle on the last link I sent.
Yeah, it said it was made by Atari, but I don't know who did that.
Oh, I got to ask you a Zybot's question.
It does look the same though.
Let me finish my story, and then we'll go to Zybot's.
All right.
Yeah, you have some good stories you want to tell. I want to hear these stories.
Yes.
Atari had this wonderful program where, at the end of the development of the cycle, you could buy one of the field test units or the prototype units. So I bought $50, I think, for Super Breakout. And about that time, Consumer, which was upstairs in our building at 1272, came down and said, we'd like to do video Super Breakout on the 2600. I said, sure. He said, can we borrow your game? Sure. So we took it upstairs. About a year later, I said, I'd like to get that game home. I really want to get back and play in that. So I went upstairs Friday night. Nobody was there. So I took a hand cart, took it down, put it in the truck, took it home. Come back Monday, I find out there was a police report. They reported it stolen.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
So they come back and we said, somebody stole our game. I said, no, it's my game. No, it's our game. No, it's my game. I bought it. It's my game.
Wow.
Oops.
Yeah. Yeah.
The things you have to worry about when you take your machines to work.
Oh, just be careful when you loan something to somebody. Put your name on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like one of those label makers property of.
Yeah, they can take those off. You got to do indelible.
Sharpie.
You were going to ask me a question about Zybots.
Oh, I was just going to ask if the decision so like when you play like a one player game, it's the half screens, and then when a second person joins, they have half. Was the decision to not like make it full for like a one player game just out of like profits, like to kind of tempt a second player to join, or was that like something with the code or
two monitors you could have done?
Yeah, I've always been curious about that.
number one, I wanted to encourage a second player to join because they get twice as much money. But number two is, as I said, I was drawing the screen in stamps. And so I'd have to have two sets of artwork, one for a bigger screen and one for a smaller screen.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because there's
So
it's not like stretch.
I was probably limited by my 2K bit EEPROM for graphics arts. And so I just probably
Sure. I didn't think about that. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, the encouraging a second player makes complete sense. That was the one thing I thought of, but I didn't think about it from that programming standpoint.
Yeah, most of our hardware at that point, beyond the early days, was there's three different video feeds. There's the alphanumerics, which had a very small EEPROM associated with it, and it was literally for alphanumerics and had highest priority. And there was playfield, which is your background stuff, and your motion objects, which is between your playfield and your alphanumerics. So those are the three things you could use. And the alphanumerics were 8x8, playfield was 8x8, the motion objects were generally 8x8.
I'm going to engineering school here.
Yeah.
I don't have a notebook.
Does Zybots have an ending, or does that one go on forever too?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. No.
And I haven't made it very far. That game gets tough really quick. The maps get huge, and if you don't have certain mappers or whatever to show you where things are, you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, it's the idea was to make things not always visible, 100% visible. So the universe was, you could only see or detect so far. The increased difficulty.
Yeah, it's cool though. I like the little map and the arrows and showing you where you're going. And
have you ever played Maze Invaders?
By the way, Bob just popped in the channel and he said there is no ending for Zybots. Bob Flanagan.
Oh, okay.
Get him in here.
Is he on chat?
He is on the chat. Yep.
Because I don't see him in the video.
Mayor Patrick.
Mayor Patrick.
Yeah, we have an IRC channel set up that the chat's happening in.
Oh, I see. All right.
Lewis, you should forward him the.
I'll send you the link, Ed.
Well, it's very likely it didn't have an ending, probably for the same reason.
Yeah.
It's gone. I've already gotten away with it once, so let me get away with it again.
Is there any boss characters in Zybots? Or is
I don't
it just
remember any boss characters.
Yeah, okay. Just wondering.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any other Zybots questions before I move on to another game to talk about?
Do you guys realize I'd actually done a VCS cartridge?
No.
With Zybots?
Which one?
I was at a Portland arcade show a year and a half ago. And I decided, what the hell, I'll walk around because they had nothing but a lot of consumer stuff. So I walked around looking at for all my cartridges, whether it was a N64 or a VCS, and I signed them if I could find them. But I did a VCS Othello. And I did it without anybody in Coinop knowing about it until the last day.
I knew that because you talked about that on some other podcast or something, or a talk, or were you at like Portland Game Expo or something? Were you on a panel?
Yes, it was very possible I could talk about that.
Yes, because I'm like, no, I can't be this guy. And yeah, I remember you said, because you said the same exact sequence of words. I walked around looking for this cartridge, and then I'm like,
I went to Carol Shaw and I got her checkers kernel. Knew enough about the VCS to basically program it on our black box. We should probably have a whole discussion about development systems before this is over too. But, I took the black box and basically, plug it into the processor, and you could debug and stuff like that. But the whole idea of Othello was, I was wondering if I could do a 2K game without look ahead. And so I was just challenging myself to see if I could do a simple game without any look ahead. So normally in chess, when you go to look ahead, the screen goes black and it spends some compute time to figure out what the next move is. I didn't, I just did a table lookup. Simple little, during vertical retrace, I did table lookup and no blank screen.
Nice.
But it had to fit in 2K. And that was a real trick because at one point they came back and said, hey, if you do this, the game always does the same stupid thing. And it would basically lose real early. So I sat down in the development system. In those days, the way to debug it is you patch a jump to someplace, add a few instructions and jump back. And so, I knew a lot of opcodes for the 6502 at that time. So
was that the original limit? Like if you couldn't fit in 2K, because I know it could take 4K.
Yes, but that
like all early games.
More, and the marketing said they wouldn't do it in 4K.
Right,
It
it's
had
too
to be a
expensive.
2K
Are the
cartridge.
chips too expensive or something? Is that why?
Doubles the cost or something,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And they sell them for the same price, so
Yeah.
they get more profit this way.
Yeah.
Was that was the only game you did for the Atari 2600?
Yes, as I said, I was in CoinOp, and I would do it at home at night. I'd come back in and
Just for fun.
basically for fun. But at the time they wanted to fix that bug, I sat down with a black box at Atari. At this point, my boss walked into my lab and looked over my shoulder and said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Releasing a 2600 cartridge.
All right, so I got to ask, was that did you set up some kind of commission for that or royalty or anything? Or was that just...
I didn't get anything for that.
Oh, they don't do royalties back then.
Before consumer had any royalties. And let me tell you.
I mean, they had to have made
history of
tens of thousands of those cartridges, I would think, at least.
Well,
I remember seeing that Othello on the Atari 2600 box. That was not the screenshots. It was
like
definitely.
They lured you in with it.
Yeah, there are two. Was that the one? Yeah, I remember the 70s. I mean, the 70s people on that box are like. I'm glad I still have that box, but I could picture. Yeah, I could picture the faces with the big gaping mouth. That's all. Yeah, that's a great box.
So Atari had this wonderful program. Oops.
Oh, there it is.
Wonderful program where they would give CoinOp people bonus if their game did really well.
Nice.
And I really have to hand it to Atari for doing that. Unfortunately, consumer did not have it. So, if anything I did for consumer, I would get a bonus. And a lot of the consumer people wanted a bonus too, and they found out CoinOp were getting bonus. And so they came up with this. Well, first of all, you've heard all the story about Activision and the Magic.
Yeah.
People left because not Manny Gerard. Our dear old men from Burlington Northern decided that engineers were just a bunch of high-strung prima donnas and they didn't deserve any of that. It was all marketing selling this product, not engineering.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't do that. So they lost all their best engineers. So they wised up.
The Magic produced some amazing stuff.
Right. And at that point, we decided, we should get a little. They took all of our games and made tons of money, and we got no credit in CoinOp, let alone any kind of royalties. And so there was a royalty program added later for consumer products that took our game code and everything else. And along those lines of when Asteroids was done, I would have given them my source code, but they never asked for it. And so when they came down to the finished product, asked me to review it, I said, "It's a bunch of crap. They didn't even follow the same rules.
Yeah.
Somebody just played it and made up some different game that looks like it and called it that." And
Crazy.
Centipede was the same way. And I said, "Look, you guys, you have the source code. You can use it.
Yeah.
Do it right."
Yeah.
Oh,
If you ever had done it right, how close to an actual arcade experience do you think you could have replicated on the VCS?
Not particularly well.
Yeah.
At least they can get a few details right.
Right.
Now, of course, the VCS is a horizontal monitor and Centipede is a vertical monitor. So
it's a challenge right there.
Take literary license with, and they should. But some of the other things that were, and I've seen a lot of games that were taken from our products and they were just terrible.
Yeah.
But the whole story of things like Pac-Man, where they said, we want to release this in 6 weeks. We don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Give it to us in 6 weeks. We can sell it. Don't worry. This is like they're full of shit.
But that pissed a lot of people off, though. And then they make a Miss Pac-Man that's like super superior, and it shows they could have done it if they wanted to.
That's
And
right.
that just pissed people off. But
Yeah.
it can be done, for some work.
Well, we were a marketing-driven company at that point by basically some Eastern high-power execs.
Yeah.
We really didn't understand engineering.
Yeah.
All right, Ed, I got to ask, did you ever do any Easter eggs? Like, did you put your
Put your name in.
like hidden?
No, I did not, but I did
Like
do
a
an Easter
venture?
egg later on. In San Francisco Rush, the N64 version, I asked marketing if I could put Rush the Rock into it. And I was told flat out no, and don't you even think about it. I put it in anyway.
Good luck finding it.
And sure enough, within 2 or 3 weeks, somebody already found the secret to exposing it.
Wow.
And I got shit for that.
Was that discovered before it was released or after it was released? Oh.
It was discovered after it was released.
Okay, that's too late.
Let's see, what else have I done? I really haven't done any Easter eggs because, early on we weren't allowed to tell. We haven't put your names and initials or anything else. So
I was just going to say,
nobody had any idea.
Atari didn't like that, right?
Yeah, so I was going to come around to David Crane. How was he able to get his name on Pitfall then?
He went and did it for a Magic.
Oh, was it?
It was Activision, right?
It was Activision.
Oh, that's Activision. That's right. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
He left because that was one
that's
of the
right, David.
I'm doing all these great games for you. At least put my name on the package or something.
Yeah, that's the least you can do.
No.
Yeah. And he put his name on like everything. I did Ghostbusters. See, his name was on every game, and so So well, shit. I mean, they programmed it by himself, so why not?
Later down the line, did Atari loosen up on that a little bit on the list of games?
And I don't remember what the consumer policy was at that point. They had to wise up because they're losing too many people. Hey, you turn on Atari football.
There you go.
I know, like 720, like a bunch of the programmers' names are graffitied into some of the ramps and stuff like that, like just their initials. But they actually have full credits on that, but still, they're actually in the game.
Yeah, later on we could put our initials in the high score tables.
Okay.
And so the top 3 would probably be in the memory saved EEPROM, and the lower 7 would probably just was probably taken directly from the game prom and just seeded.
What version of Tetris did you program?
I did the version of Tengen version. I actually did 2 different versions that were taken to CES. First one was a January CES, and it was fully functional. It was working pretty good. And afterwards, they wanted to make a few improvements, and I found a way of doing much better looking version. And we took it to the June CES and showed it there. Interesting thing I got a couple interesting stories about Tengen Tetris.
Is that the arcade? That's not the arcade release, is it?
No, my game code was taken to make the arcade version. And I don't know if I was asked to do it or I turned them down. But anyway, I think Greg Rivera took over that project as well probably with Norm Avalar. So he probably took that project over too. But my 2 stories with Tetris are, the game was much better than the Nintendo released one. I'll give you 3 stories with Tetris. Let's put it that way.
Even better.
A bonus. So, the first story is I heard this. People would, you could go to your Blockbuster and rent, your cartridge for your NES, and I found that people were, as a racket, basically renting it, quote, losing it and paying the fee, and then reselling it on eBay for $150, $200.
Holy crap!
Oh.
Second story. I was working for a company called TV Head. We were doing games for set-top boxes, and this was, 10 years ago or so. And our manager went to Blue Planet, which is in Hawaii, who owned all the worldwide rights to Tetris. And they asked, we'd like to license it, and and the owner, of course, of Blue Planet rambled on and on about how good the product is. It's the best game ever, and over here this is the best version ever done. And pointing to Tengen Tetris. My manager just smirked and said, the same guy did that's going to be doing our version.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by set-top boxes? Is that like
on your TV set? You have your remote for your TV. We created a proprietary system that would basically stream to 200 boxes, an MPEG signal, just like you have, like your movies for rent at hotels.
Oh, yeah,
you go select a game, and it would stream your game to you.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I remember staying in some hotel rooms, and they would have games and stuff on their box, on the TV box, and
I did a dozen or so games for the set-top box. That was one of them.
Oh, interesting.
What was the third story?
Sorry.
Probably a lawsuit.
What was I was at Portland a year and a half ago up at the arcade show, and I walk in. The first thing I see is World Championship of Tetris. So I walk up to him and I ask him, "What version are you using?" "Oh, we're working the original version of Tetris." And I said, "No, you're not."
I know something you don't know.
No, you're not. I did the original version. And out of that, I'm the first world champ.
Take that.
So they took Mike Klug and I think Mike Klug and I went to the Russian Tea Room in New York City to do a worldwide premiere of Tetris, and we played off for a world championship. And I happened to squeak by and won.
What version of Tetris is on the Versus on the Red 10 on the dual system?
The Nintendo Versus?
On the Nintendo
Must
Versus.
be the Nintendo version.
I feel like it's not, though. I don't think it's like the straight NES version, right, Andrew? Isn't it? Is it 10? What version is that?
I was going to say that it's Tengen. I thought it was too.
Yeah.
I don't think they had the rights to that. I don't know how they got it.
Yeah,
I could have sworn it was. Let me see.
Yeah. That's a quick because I know that's some. It's not the official Atari version, like the little guy that dances and stuff. That's how I separate. That's how I labeled the art. Yeah, the arcade version where the little guy comes out of the cabinet and dances.
Yeah, here it is. It says Tengen on the cart, the NES cart.
For the NES, but for the Nintendo Versus,
for the Versus, and I can't picture. For some reason, I don't have the game, so I can't picture it on Red 10.
And there was some story about the Tengen name too, right? Because Nintendo didn't want Atari logos on their games or something like that.
I think it was they limited the number of.
Let me explain this.
Games they could release or something like that.
I learned about the NES when I was in Japan, in Namco, Japan. So I got a development system. And I was deciding what game could I put on the NES? Well, let's do Centipede. So I completed Centipede on the NES. And then Atari found out that we may not have the rights to the game. So we actually had to sue Atari Inc. or Atari Corp. Because we were Atari Games Corp. The company was split into two companies when Time Warner gave up the interest. They basically said, Tramiel, will you take this for $350 in receivables? We'll give you, $40 million or whatever it was. And will you take this? And he said, sure. And then the rest of the company, I guess Namco, we did something wrong with Namco. So they went back to Namco and said, instead of suing us, would you like Atari Games? And they said, sure. So we became part of Namco. Atari Games Corporation became part of Namco. So we had two different Ataris, and it wasn't clear who owned the rights to Centipede. So we actually had to sue the other Atari. It turns out the judge threw up their hand and said, basically, anything before this date, the separation date belongs to Atari Corp, and anything you do afterwards. So I couldn't do Centipede on the NES. And then later when I saw, I played Tetris on an ST, I think, and I said, holy crap, this game's good. So I went to Dennis Wood and said, go get the license for this game. I want to do this game on the NES. And so he got the license through a British company, got through Hungarian, who got it through Russia.
Right.
And I suspect the Hungarian probably shortchanged Russia. So when Namco went to Russia and said, for $1 million, to give us the rights to family computers or something.
Huh.
I'm sure Russia would say, sure, of course.
Yeah.
It's your problem to, if it doesn't work.
It does say that it's branded as Tengen. So there you go.
Is this
Yeah.
the right version?
So
It's supposed to be the versus version.
let me continue this story.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what
by all
happened
means.
now is Atari wanted to do consumer games, so they had to come up with a different name. And so that's where we came up with Tengen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I
Hmm.
forgot about that.
But we couldn't use the name Atari or Atari Games.
weird.
Now, in addition, Nintendo would play games with the NES. So basically, they had unlimited cartridges they could sell. But for you, we'll limit yours to 100,000 or something. Whatever fictitious number they want to limit us to. So we went and tried to reverse engineer their system to basically bypass the security chip, and that's where we ran into trouble because the lawyers screwed up. Went and got something they shouldn't have gotten.
Oops.
Because we'd already reverse engineered it.
Huh.
We'd already stripped the silicon off and figured out.
How
It wasn't the fact that you reverse engineered it. It was you reverse engineer it, and there might have been a suspicion that it was.
We went. The lawyers went to the
protected
patent office and got a description of how the chip works. And because our lawyers had it, obviously we must have had it, which tainted our chips.
Oh crap!
Stolen plans.
So if they just left it alone and we'd reverse engineered it, they wouldn't have that argument.
Oh, oops.
Yeah,
Yes,
whoops.
oops.
That was an expensive mistake.
At
But
least
if you have-
the Tengen cartridges at least were freaking cool with the with the sloped handle. I had tubing. That was when I had first. That was one of the many Atari games I had played on NES before I realized there was an arcade version. And I'm like, I thought this game was so good, and then I saw the arcade version. I'm like, oh, this is what it really is supposed to be. It's just, but if you're going to be introduced to a game, that's the way to do it, because then it can only get better, right?
Yeah.
Ed, have you happened to see the Tetris documentary? I think it's called Ecstasy of Order.
Order, yes.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, Aaron, Tetris at all? I found it an amazing documentary. It's
good.
Kind of follows a competition with. I think it goes back even to the kids that were playing it on the NES, and then it shows
It came out on the
a guy that was
long before it came out in the NES.
Yeah. This is just showing people that are like really good at the game, and kind of follows the paths of a few different people, and then they all come together near the end of the movie at a competition that they do to really try to find out who is the best person at the game. And this one guy who's kind of like reclusive finally comes out of his shell just to come down there, just to kind of show his skills off. And to me, that's I talk about people's mutant powers. Like Gak has a mutant power to be able to figure out what arcade machine is and what arcade cabinet. Yeah.
Based on a profile.
Just by a profile. Yeah. So these guys, this is their mutant power. They can play Tetris where they're just like in automatic mode, where they're just spinning it, throwing it down. And it gets to the point where the pieces drop so fast that you have a split second your decision.
What is it,
and
level
these guys are
20 or
just in a
something?
zone.
Yeah.
They're in a zone, and they talk about that in the documentary about how you get to a certain level that is pretty much unbeatable, but you
Level
try
30.
to survive as long as you can.
Oh,
Level
it's
30.
30.
Yeah.
I thought it was 20. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like you basically 30 becomes like the kill screen, because stuff drops so fast that you can't do it without doing the special technique of like vibrating the controller or something like that.
And then there's the luck factor. Yeah.
And there's and there's that weird situation where the long piece won't come down sometimes.
A drought
for like the drought, waiting for the long piece. Where's the long piece? So yeah, the documentary is a lot of fun. So
do they I've only seen it once, and that was a long
Ecstasy
time
of
ago.
Order,
Do they talk about? Do they have any programmers talking about any of the?
I don't think they interviewed.
That seems like something that might be.
That was missing in the documentary. It was mostly people that are just.
Let me give you a little story about that, because when I did my original version, I had random pieces ordered. So when I did the reversion for the set-top box, Blue Planet required me to do the new method, which is basically you throw all 10 pieces into, you reorder the 10 pieces into a kit. And when that set is done, you get another set of 10 pieces in some random order. So you're guaranteed to have a red long piece come down every 10, basically.
Oh, okay. That's not how the NES one was
cheap.
programmed. It's kind of, I think it's just thrown a random number. Yeah, a random thing. That's what it seemed like anyway. I think they talk about that in the documentary, that it's random. So yeah, that it's too bad it wasn't programmed that way. It should be.
Yeah, they talk about like 30-piece runs with a drought of not getting a long bar.
Right.
It was just like,
and that's just the bad
30,
luck
40,
of
50 pieces.
Just bad luck
of it.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Clax. Oh, another Atari game.
Yes.
I've been playing a lot. I love
the Tetris. The Tetris that was not for Nintendo Versus or whatever. They were only kits, right? Conversion kits, or were there dedicated original machines? Because that's one of the first games that I remember. Like, I never paid attention to like what was a conversion or anything back in the day, but that was the first time I recognized, because it was a tapper. You know, it had the cup holders on the sides. But it was Tetris. It had been converted to Tetris.
You will run it, Gak. You'll run into people on Clav. There's a few threads where it's debates about whether or not there was a legit dedicated, but and Ed maybe can confirm or deny this, but there's definitely some people that swear that there was one dedicated upright Tetris and one dedicated Cabaret, which is identical to the Clax Cabaret.
Clax, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. But and did Clax come out in 89 or 88? Because Tetris was 88, I think.
89 was the coin-op version.
Okay.
It was a kit only. As far as my notes go, it's a kit only.
Okay.
Right.
Clax was an upright. It was a Cabaret, and it had kits.
Yeah, because Carrie's got. I mean, I'm staring at it right. She's got a Cabaret Clax, and it's basically home use only. It's beautiful, and I play it almost daily when I'm out here.
Yeah, Clax came out in 90.
Okay, I fucking love Clax.
Clax is
that's the whole tagline, right?
Stick,
it's the 90s.
It's 90s and it's time for Clax.
And there's time for Clax. Yep. It's got one of the great Atari get a T-shirt screens, the advertisement screens, and it's a dip switch. You can turn it on or off, but why would you ever turn it off? Because it's so charming to see if you get this score or whatever, send in to Atari, and I'm sure it's some address that doesn't, there's nothing there anymore. But
yeah, I think the idea was that in the arcade, the promotion would be off, and they didn't want people still going through the promotion while it was actually in the arcade. That's what happened to Josh with the Road Blasters T-shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, even
he thought
Tubin had one too.
Yeah.
And even Mortal Kombat had one for the soundtrack. You could buy the CD.
Well, I should have shown you guys this. I have a Gauntlet T-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Sweet.
Oh, that's awesome.
It looks
was that created back in the 80s, or is that
the original one was produced back in 85, 86. This, I think, was a reproduction because my other one probably died.
So yours doesn't have pit stains.
clean as a whistle. Yeah.
So,
Actually, yeah.
Let me ask you, what did you think of the reproductions of the Gauntlets, the 3D version that came out later?
Oh,
you worked on some
Legends.
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
I'd seen them and played them a little bit. It's the third generation, so the concept is a little older. The 3D, I don't think adds anything to it, in the sense that some people don't have really problems with 3D, and so it's not as easy,
right,
from that standpoint. Kind of top down.
Yes, I guess where I was going with the question is, do you feel a little bit honored that someone revived Gauntlet? Your baby.
Well, it's not my baby; it's Atari's baby. Yeah, I started a mess. Yes, I mean, to a certain degree, yes. But if they screw it up, it's like, oh God,
right.
Piss. So you're never sure. They did okay. I mean, they did a good job of it. I mean, technically they did a good job.
Well, that's
I
kind of
don't
a
remember
segue
how
then
many
for
they sold.
my question, and forgive me if you answered it while I was away, but what is your favorite? Like, what are you most proud? What's your favorite game that you like? Maybe not what. Well, I guess they could kind of coincide. Though, what's your most proud of game? But like, what did you have the most fun making, or what's your pride and joy?
I don't really have a specific, best or most fun game.
Top 3.
I would say Super Breakout, Asteroids, and Centipede, probably.
All right.
Love them all.
Yeah, they're all great.
Me and Dave were just talking about Centipede.
Yeah, I just sold mine, but I have an 8-year-old son, and the only reason I want to get another one is just I didn't like my cabinet. It had like side art issues, like as far as aesthetically, like it was the first game I got, and I'm like,
Was it too beat up?
Yeah, it was beat up. And boy, I thought I lost 2 years of my life pushing it up my 6 steps because it is so heavy. And I had a big guy.
The Atari cabinet is just.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Just I was
Atari cabinets
moving it.
are
I'm like,
brutal.
this is. I mean, it's only 6 steps up out of my basement, but I called my big friend to be at the bottom, and I was up pulling the hand truck, and I'm like, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I think I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm dying."
And I just next question for Ed: why are Atari cabinets so heavy?
They love a particle board. Yeah.
Yeah, they're built to last, and I may handle them by myself. I take them up.
Got to find that balance point.
We all do.
Yeah, when you were talking about taking a hand truck to get your Super Breakout, I was thinking, how the hell did he do that?
What you do is you grab the handle on top and you just jerk back, and it leans back.
I picked up my Asteroids, which is here working. It's behind here. I love it. And when I picked it up, I put it in the back of I have a minivan, and I was like pushing it out by myself, and I hit the point where it was sliding off, where it was too much down, and I'm like literally like, oh my god, it's gonna fall, and I'm just like holding it, and there's nobody around, and I'm like, the neighbor kid was, I'm like, Josh, can you come over here for a second? Like I was almost like, what am I gonna do? Do I put it back on the car and then try and back up my minivan? Like this thing is gonna fall. I was in this panic mode, and then he finally came out and saved me. We pushed it up. I'm like, oh, I'm losing the battle here big time. Like I'm just this thing's gonna fall on the ground.
I was at Atari one Friday afternoon, and Greg Rivera was going to take a game out to field test. So he got the company truck, put his game on it. A few minutes later, he comes back and says, I went around the corner outside and the game flipped out. So when I was like, check it out. So here you see that all 4 panels, of the game laying flat, monitored.
Oh no.
I said, fine, don't worry about it. So yeah, you have to be careful because they'll right over the side. So of course it didn't have it secured.
There have been plenty of times, Gino and you mean Carrie, like at X, we're moving so many games, and some of those Atari cabs, especially the ones that are notoriously like top heavy and everything, and and I'm a pretty slender guy, and so like on some of those games they're so heavy that if I'm manhandling them, even with the best dolly, to get them started, I'm off the ground just to get them tipped back. Like, it's the scariest like 4 seconds, and then it's fine after that.
Yeah, at the time I was moving those games around, I was 153 pounds. So.
Okay, yeah, you can relate then.
Oh yeah.
Owen on the IRC chat's asking if you know anything about the drop tests that they put the hardware through the cabinets and stuff.
I do not know much about it. That was in another building, and we go over there during production runs to check on things, how they were going. But I didn't know enough about what they were doing over there. I go over and watch the wave solder machine, which I thought was amazing. Take a PC board and then they run it through this wave solder machine and just solders everything at once.
Yes. I've seen those too.
It's basically like a bath of solder, right? I mean,
bath of solder, and they just run it over it.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys seen you've seen a System 1 board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen a Gauntlet board?
Oh yeah,
about the same size, yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, not in size.
No. I mean, obviously 2 pieces, and then seems like it's rearranged.
The story of Gauntlet is, because they were going to have to modify the System 1 to do what I wanted, it was going to be even bigger. And so I said, no, we can't do that because it's not going to fit in the back of the cabinet. So I said, we could do it if we had 4-layer boards, because a lot of the problem with big boards like theirs is RF noise as well as signal noise. And the thing about a 4-layer board is you got a power plane, a ground plane, and the noise basically disappears. So all the bypass caps and everything, you don't need those anymore. Not only that, you can run traces right between pins or 2 traces between pins and everything like that. Problem is our CAD system couldn't handle that yet. And of course, 4-layer boards are twice the expense. And I thought, well, it'd be half the size, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
So I got the CAD people to upgrade the software, and we actually did a Gauntlet board in 4-layer board. And after that, all our games were in 4 layers. The art came out so clean, you wouldn't believe it. And we had an anechoic chamber, by the way, to test these in. If you've ever been in an anechoic chamber, it's a real experience.
I've been in one at Apple. That's a pretty cool experience. It's creepy.
You go in and you start hearing your heartbeat and,
Yes.
and the air molecules hitting your eardrums. It's just really weird.
And then you regress to a monkey.
Some people, I take them in there and they'd freak out. They just couldn't handle it.
An altered states joke, by the way.
Yeah, it is an altered state. It really is.
Yeah.
You want to hear some other interesting stories?
Sure, yeah.
Yes,
Whatever you
always.
got.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Only the non-interesting ones.
Let's take
We
Steel
limit our
Talons.
guests to like 3 interesting stories. So I think that over the limit. No,
We gave you
With a
6.
All right, I'll take the Steel Talons, because Steel Talons I wanted to have fogging because you could probably draw 400 or 500 polygons, not much in the hardware. It was hard driving hardware, by the way. So if you're familiar with hard driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen the game. None of us are any good at it or anything.
Yeah, well, I wanted to create these big worlds, and it's like, that's too many polygons. So I needed to fog to make things disappear, so I didn't have to draw them. So I went to
interesting.
Ed and said, I want to do this, and they said, no, you can't do that. I said, well, sure you can. Just change your microcode so I can do this. No, you can't do that. It won't work. So I figured out a way to how to do it in palettes, because you had a lot of palettes on hard drive hardware. So I'd implemented the fogging just using different color palettes. And so when I came in one day, and here's Jed Margolin showing his girlfriend, look what they did with my hardware. Stuff that they said they couldn't.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah, they couldn't work.
Wow.
Another interesting story. First time I took it to field test. If you're familiar with Steel Talons, your double sit-down cabinet.
Is that the one with those like kind of big girders with the holes in them on the side?
Well, you basically like climb into a cockpit on either side, left or right side.
It's a big machine.
It's a big machine.
Oh, wow, I'm looking at a picture. Yeah, it reminds me of T-Mac almost.
Yeah. Anyway, I was watching the first guy who played it, and the first time he gets shot, of course, I have this pinball knocker underneath his seat. It hits the seat underneath.
What knockers?
Yeah, it's a pinball. I used to go whack. And he just like, oh shit, he jumped like hell. And I realized after I went and checked it after a while, we overvoltaged the knocker.
Oh no.
What it was supposed to be.
You almost knocked him, all right.
Oh yeah, it really kicked him good.
Oh wow.
Well, there's
another interesting story.
There's those
Went down
holes.
to Fort Worth through the helicopter simulator down there.
God, that's a huge footprint.
Yes.
And then I found out later that when they saw the Steel Talons game, they thought that I'd implemented the secret elevator on the one of the Apache helicopters or something. So they went down to the guy, gave the guy who ran the simulator shit, and he basically said, "It's my facility. I can do anything I damn well please." And it turns out, I'm trying to draw this helicopter in 50 polygons or less. So there's no way I'm doing anything moves.
Yeah. No way.
But another interesting one, I took a field test. If you sit in the cabinet, to get the coin box, you have to sort of reach out and arm, as far as you can with your arm and lift the box up and then out. So at the end of a week, I was going to take collections. So I reach in there, and God, I try to lift. That box is jammed. I could not physically get it. So I'm down with my head and both hands in the box, trying to realize it until I realized it's full of coins.
Oh,
Too heavy.
Nice.
Wow.
And you can't lift it at that awkward angle. So we had to put a sign that says, ask people to please empty the coin box every 2 or 3 days.
Wow. That's a good problem to have.
Oh yeah, it's really.
I remember, I'm trying to think. That's a fun question. I don't think we've ever had that on our show. Is about what's the biggest coin bucket you've encountered with a game, and some of those Konami, I'm sure Gauntlet has a huge, and it's plastic. It's this huge plastic thing, and I remember when
There's
my first
2 coin doors, so you got 2 boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you split the coin box, but here's a Steel Talons, which is 50 cents per play. And and both players using the same, same box.
Jeez.
So it got to be so heavy, and it's because it's so in an awkward position, you can't get it out easily.
Oh man. Makes you curious. You said that one was full. I wonder what the total of that is.
It was about $1,000, but that's 4,000 coins.
Coins, yeah.
Yeah, 4,000 quarters. How much does that weigh?
A lot, apparently.
Yes.
The first game that I had in my collection, the first game I fixed up and restored was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Quarter Muncher, and I remember that has 2 coin doors and but it was in a cabinet that had a 4-slot coin door. It was a conversion, but it had it was a 4-player game, but 1 coin bucket.
Oh, God.
And I would use it as a piggy bank. I was on a bowling league, and we would play. If you get strikes, you get a quarter or whatever. We pooled our money, and so I'd walk home most nights with a pile of quarters, and I just put them in there. That was like my piggy bank. And at one point, I was like, the bucket's huge, and it's about there. I'm just going to empty this out, and then whatever I have, I'll use for my next game. And I emptied it out, and it was literally it was maybe not even a tenth of the bucket, and it was $350. And I'm just like I can't imagine the operators dumping this thing out, and how many hundreds and hundreds of dollars at the end of the week they had. It just blew my mind. And again, then it kind of put things in perspective with operators, and you see these flyers now, and they're charming it because it's talking about earnings as much as the addictive gameplay. And you think, wow, yeah, like you're saying, how quick people get their ROI back from buying a game that's the equivalent of $10,000 nowadays for some of those games. It's mind-boggling, but it makes complete sense. But as a hobbyist, as a collector, you don't necessarily think of that.
So Ed, to answer your question with a little bit of quick internet research, 22 pounds is what
I came up with 50 pounds. But
it's 50 pounds.
It's 50 pounds.
It's 50 pounds.
22 kilos.
Yeah.
It's 22 kilos. Yeah. Okay.
It's still insane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Especially at a low, awkward angle that you have to extend your arm.
It's basically you're extending your arm and then lifting straight up and then out.
Yeah, and hopefully you're a 20-something because any of us now would probably be sore in our right shoulder for a week.
My back.
You have to understand that I was 31 when I did Asteroids, and I was the old fart basically at Atari. Although I didn't look it, and even when I went to TV Head later on, there was an older guy. He said, "Yeah, I'm the oldest guy here. I have most experience." And I said, "Well, I don't think so." "How old are you?" "Well, I'm 50. "Well, I'm 60.
And do you have any great anecdotes or any great memories you want to share of Atari? We've heard the hot tub stories and this and that. Do you think you want to?
I was not part of the hot tub scene or the. I forgot. There was a call sign for "Come on up and we'll smoke pot upstairs," and I was not part of that group either.
The Bob and Owens did the same thing. They said, "Nah, we weren't part of those parties."
It was exaggerated.
Yeah.
He had work to do.
I think that was when Bob came, we had already moved to Milpitas, but 1272 is where a lot of that stuff went on. Well, even in 1501 on McCarthy Avenue, they had the hot tub. So we still had hot tub scene there.
Were you
Blame
working
it on the
at,
marketing department.
Yep.
you said your wife had an asteroids before you guys, was it before you got married? I think you said.
Yes.
So how did you meet your wife then? Like,
She was dating Ed Rotberg at the time.
Oh, scandal.
Yeah, right. I went to a Christmas party and Ed Rotberg said, "Hey, I want you to meet the best." So I was introduced to, she was introduced to as the best.
And you said I programmed that game, and that was all it took. And
I
worked on
later.
asteroids.
I didn't know at the time.
And do
Oh,
you,
you didn't know.
have the golden asteroids?
Yeah, turtle roids. You don't know about turtle roids, do you?
No.
ooh, new story.
Let's hear.
All
It sounds
right,
like something you need a
turtle
cream
roids,
for.
well, every year we would go off and
My dad
brainstorm.
does.
We go off to Sonoma or Boulder Creek or somewhere, and every year Mike Alba would create this idea for doing a turtle game, turtle races. Whereas the idea is to increase your volume slowly, but if you increase it too fast, the turtle goes into your shell, hooks down. And of course, the idea is to increase your volume, and get first place. And of course, every year it gets shot down. And so finally one year, Frank Blue got him and said, "No turtle games. I don't want to hear turtles, no turtles, nothing." We had one of the waiters bring over a drink with a wind-up turtle in it. Everything was turtles. So somebody said, "Can you change the saucer and asteroids to turtle?" And I said, "Sure." So we had the gold asteroids out in the, right in the front of our 1272. So we substituted the graphic proms and out came this turtle.
Awesome.
Oh, how funny.
Oh, wow.
Must have died.
Now, I'm pretty sure I remember at CAX a few years ago, there was an asteroids. It was either like Google or eBay, or I think it was Google or something. The logos. Does that sound familiar, Lewis? Do you remember that?
I'm not ringing a bell.
No, somebody did a hack on them. Instead of the asteroids, they were like I think the logo for Google or something like that. Yeah.
Well,
I
there
missed
were
the story about the gold asteroids.
Yeah. So the golden asteroids, right?
50,000.
There was a golden asteroids. Yeah, that one.
There we go.
Who's that handsome guy?
Yeah, that's me when I was back in my fighting strength, I guess you'd say.
What's the story behind this gold asteroids that I missed today? I'm sorry.
It's got one red
It's like the
button.
75th version, or 75,000 asteroids, and so they created one that was to be the.
Man.
Oh, I get it. Like a gold
24
record
carat.
type thing.
It's 50 grand.
Yeah, it was the final big.
Was that given to you, or where did that one wind up?
It was I think it's in the home of one of the Midway Chicago executives now.
Okay.
That's the last I heard of it. Because it was put on a 18-wheeler and sent off to Chicago.
And now sits in K Jewelers.
No, it's in his home somewhere.
They love to do that. They made some gold DeLoreans too. They love to make things out of gold back then. That was the
That was the 80s.
Yeah.
What was the story behind the different control panel art? Like, why was there another one made, or the alternate one? You know what I'm talking about, Ed?
Game.
For asteroids. So there's an alternate version of the control panel.
Is
art.
that not the Willits one?
Willis,
I'm
I think.
I'm only familiar with the one that I really hated. George Opperman did that, and if I'd have seen it, I told him to go back to the drawing board.
Basically, the red, white, and blue graphics directly onto the panel, the black panel.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm aware of.
Well, there was the aftermarket one. I think Willits was the
Willis.
company. Willis.
Willis.
WILLIS. It's red.
They
I
also
think
did
that
a
might have-
Centipede as well.
Yeah, they've done a bunch, but
Is that just a third party that just did whatever they wanted and threw it out there for people to put on their cabinets?
for
Is that all?
operators to replace overlays or worn out.
And they wouldn't
Artwork.
recreate the original art. Huh?
They probably have to get the rights for it.
I had a Willis control
Yeah.
panel on my
Okay,
Centipede.
so
That was
that's what
part of the
that
reason
was.
I
Okay.
sold it. It was, well, not just that, but the side art was peeling and all this stuff. It just had issues. I'm getting another Centipede, but
There were a
yeah,
lot of
my-
people that actually ripped off our games. You know, I remember Centipede in particular was ripped off. Up in Toronto, I went to a case where, you know, they had their legal expert and said, you know, it looks different, therefore it's obviously different. And if you dump the EPROMs outside of copyright Atari and a few other things, it's word for byte.
Wow.
Wow.
EPROMs are
Yeah.
identical. And it was
Isn't
like,
there-
you have an
was-
expert reviewing this?
Wasn't there
Piracy.
another company that released Asteroids as well? Was Midway or something? Wasn't there?
Meteors, maybe?
Or no, isn't there somebody that said that they sold it? Maybe it was overseas or something. That there was
Well,
another.
overseas, they ripped off Asteroids. And
Did another company distributed Asteroids? It didn't say Atari. It said another company. I thought I
I
heard.
think
that
it was
somewhere.
Sega overseas.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
thought that was Missile Command on that. one.
Asteroids, but not Asteroids.
Or
They
how
look
about
like
the
asteroids,
the
not asteroids.
Vectrex mine? Is it Mindstorm? I think it's called. Right, Carrie?
Yeah, it's Mindstorm.
So that's sort of like the Asteroids ripoff, I think, isn't it?
But this was at the same
Yeah.
time Asteroids was coming out. So I don't know if it's the same game we're talking about or not.
You're talking about another coin
Uh,
that was a ripoff of
It
that.
was a great coin-op game, an absolute ripoff.
Wow.
But so it wasn't licensed. If another company did distributed Asteroids overseas, that was just a ripoff. That there was no agreement with
had-
another company to release it, like in Europe or whatever. It wasn't Atari. Like, all right, we'll sell you the rights because we're not going to distribute it over there. Or
We actually had a factory in Ireland and we did distribute in Europe.
oh, okay,
But it was
all right.
things like Asia and stuff like that people would just rip stuff off.
Oh, okay.
But it was Europe too. You know, Eastern Europe could do it easily.
Yeah,
There was
somebody-
a question in the IRC for Ed. Is there is that Turtles Asteroids version ROM available anywhere?
Not that I'm aware of, but I do have the original artwork. So if you could dump the program, you could find the original saucer. You could substitute these values for it, and it would work.
Oh, how funny.
Someone
All right.
scanned that artwork.
Special project.
Yeah, there you go.
I have a scan of it too.
Oh, damn.
I have the original graph paper where I drew it and wrote the coordinates. down.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I'll hit you up on the sidebar later.
Yeah.
No,
Speaking
Ed, you
of
said
royalties.
you had 9 games, so you said had, so you don't have any full size arcade games left anymore. You got rid of them.
Well, I'm retired now. I'm an old fart.
Well, I
I
thought
moved
maybe
to
you
a
keep
retirement
one.
community that has very limited space.
Oh, okay.
So I gave, I think I sold 3 of them and put 5 or 6 in my daughter's home up in Sacramento.
Oh, cool.
So shuffleboard's your game now.
No.
Just
Send all of your Asteroids marquees to Ed Logg at what's your address? No.
It's surprising. I moved here.
Ed, what do you remember? What other?
Within weeks, I got these fan letters saying, "Would you please autograph this and send it back to me?" It's like, how in the hell did they find my place already?
Yeah. Track you down.
yeah. What 9 games did you have? You said you
Yeah,
had 2
that's what I was
Asteroids and
I had
you
2
said you had a
Asteroids.
Robotron. But
I had a Cabaret Tempest because they were going to trash them, and said, "No, let's sell them to the employees." So for $250, I bought a Cabaret Tempest.
Wow.
I had a Robotron, a Super Breakout. I had Maze Invaders, Millipede, Gauntlet, Super Breakout, Robotron, Maze Invaders, Asteroids, Gauntlet. I guess that, and a Cabaret Centipede.
What does
Oh,
your daughter have?
I've got one of those in storage. I just ran out of space. Speaking of
Well-
space, that's
I love the Cabaret size. It's great.
oh, me too. With that the
Cabarets are awesome.
19-inch monitor, like yeah, the Atari they knew what they were doing with their cabarets.
Yeah, those were intended for things like restaurants and stuff that very limited space. and they look nice enough that they don't look like an arcade piece.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen
the wood grain sides and
have you seen the countertop games that are about the size of a Mac monitor? That
make it touch.
You can play poker or whatever on them.
Jim,
I might know a little bit about those.
Yeah, Jim has seen one.
We had a cabinet in Atari once, and my boss, Dan Van Elderen, went on vacation. So I took a Gauntlet cabinet, a Gauntlet PC board, stuck it in, power supply, put the monitor was already in there, and I had the harness built up, and I put a 2-player control panel on it. So when he came back, he's on his desk. Here's a 2-player Gauntlet.
Awesome.
That's how well the four-layer board fit inside, as far as a small cabinet.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. It fit. You look at that and say, "You're kidding me."
I'm picturing like Dillinger's desk in Tron, and it's Gauntlet he's playing with all of his the fake touch panels. Yeah, I love those countertop games.
We talked about shoes
and Arkanoid they did. Yeah, all that. Yeah,
even Arkanoid's one game that when I saw it, I said, why didn't I think of that? Done all that
Ed, you'd like this. You'd like this story. So I'm a huge Arkanoid fan. I've got my favorite game out of the series is Arkanoid 2, but when I got into this hobby when I was in my early 20s, and that was like the third or fourth game. Like early on, my mom was helping me because at the time I was living at home, and she helped me with the artwork and stuff. But anyways, I moved out, and like my fourth game or so was this Arkanoid 2, and my mom loves Breakout because we'd play that on Atari with the paddles and stuff. She comes over to my apartment, and I had just finished it, and she starts playing the game. I'm like, oh my god, I like this game. This is like Breakout, and she just like got addicted to it, and that's like one of the few memories I have where my mom was into the games, is because, and that's her thing. She's like, this is just like Breakout. And why are these things falling? I'm like, well, I had to explain to her, but
those are power-ups.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's basically, that's the way I always explain it. I'm like, what's Arkanoid? Well, have you ever played Breakout? It's Breakout on steroids. Yep. That's it. Yeah.
And Jim has video series on YouTube showing how to beat the game, and he's really good at it. Right, Jim?
It's a fun game. It'll never leave. Like it'll never leave my collection. I mean, now speaking of Grinkers, we talked about that arcade, our event and stuff. They had Breakout in the tournament. And I hadn't played the arcade version in years. I'd played it like maybe once, and that was the game I just kept coming back to. I didn't care about the other games because it's such a.
Was it Breakout or Super Breakout?
Regular. I think it was just regular Breakout. I think it was just the first Breakout, and it's just such a good game. Like the best games I always find are the ones that are simple to learn, simple to pick up, difficult to master. Because those are the ones you keep coming back to, and that's a prime example. And yeah, we had Breakout on Atari. I think we might have had Super Breakout. I always liked Super Breakout because it had the additional options, But
I like Progressive Breakout. That was my favorite. But you may not be aware the original version I did was actually 6 different versions. There was you could hit the side of bricks on 3 of my versions and stuff like that. And
okay.
Eventually, I field tested 2 sets, and the one that worked best, of course, are the 3 favorite ones: the Pocket, the Double Breakout, and the Progressive Breakout. Which I
okay.
Hey, Lewis, can you bring on your screen Gak's link you just posted?
I found the
eBay asteroids. Yeah, the video of it. Show that to.
So it was at CAX a few years ago. Someone modded an actual asteroids cabinet. And instead of asteroids, they were the letters for eBay. So like the letters would pop up and you shoot them. And there's a video I linked in our chat.
Stand by. Let me see if I can
like
get
a sprite swap, but not sprites.
Is this in the chat?
Yeah, in our chat. So on Zoom.
Well, Lewis can bring it on screen. Maybe.
Is this the YouTube video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want me to click on the link, or you want me to just wait for the video to clear?
I think Arcade Danger's working on it.
Yeah.
He's gonna try to share it.
I mean, it's not going to kill anything if you click on it.
No.
Before we end, we should probably
I can't
talk
share, guys.
development
It's,
systems.
my system settings are all blocked up. Thank you,
Oh,
Macintosh.
I'm sorry, Ed. What did you say?
We should
before
probably
end?
talk about early development systems.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, there it is.
So this is the eBay. Oh wow.
How weird is that?
That's funny.
You know, Jason Kopp
That's
is
just
also
wrong.
doing a color version of Asteroids. I don't know if we've
That guy is a genius.
yeah, where he just took basically the fact that you could assign a brightness level and change it to instead read a color. So he has reverse engineered Asteroids in some bizarre ways. Very interesting.
Oh, Jason, Arcade
yeah.
Jason,
And so basically, you can play Asteroids in color on a 6100 monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
There's a link for that on YouTube somewhere. We should find that too.
That's a guy where he's like, I could just picture him just kind of being bored. Like it's a Sunday afternoon, it's rainy outside. You know, this would be kind of cool. I'm gonna do that. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, he's like reverse engineering how to stop a car batteries from decaying. I'm like, God, what is happening?
Yeah.
So Ed, what was the development environment like?
Yeah, talk about that.
This back in 1978 when I joined Atari, February probably. The way they worked, they had a black box and you plug the connector into the processor. So actually what you do is you would plug the HP analyzer onto a processor. We had like 1 or 2 HP analyzers around. So you could actually take a look and see what instructions were actually that had been actually executed. But there was a black box that you could basically stop. I don't know if you could put I guess you could put breakpoints. I don't remember now. But you loaded the memory by taking a paper tape and feeding it through the machine. So you had a paper tape that would basically load your program, and you had a listing that you used to follow what matched on the paper tape. And how you made changes? Well, you marked up your listing. You took an 8x11 sheet, wrote down other instructions, said insert here, and you gave it to these ladies that had one PD machine, and they would enter the program, add whatever snide comments they wanted, give you your listing back and a new paper tape. And so, you get back and you did something like this, and you see the snide comment, from one of the gals that had entered your program.
A footnote.
So, of course, this would take a little time. And when I started, they said, here, we want you to continue this game that Dennis Coble had started, and he went up to consumer, so you're taking his place. So, and it was Dirt Bike. So I started on Dirt Bike, but once you give the listing away, it's like you got to wait for the next paper tape. So you got time to kill. So one lunch, Owen Rubin comes in and said, Nolan Bush and I were talking the other day, and he said he has this wonderful idea for doing another breakout game that would, you could do this, you could do that, and then I can do that. So I started a super breakout game, and I ping pong between the two games. I changed the graphic EPROMs between the two, and I get the new listing, play super breakout for a while, put it right, take the Dirt Bike, plug the EPROMs in, and do Dirt Bike so I was ping pong between two games. First time it had been done at Atari.
That sounds difficult to me.
So it actually,
I have trouble
tested two games at the same time, Dirt Bike and Super Breakout. But Super Breakout beat away Dirt Bike, so they decided not to build it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I have trouble enough, like with my job going between two projects, but just instantly bouncing back and forth. I can't imagine doing a couple games like that.
They're simple games, no problem.
Besides, sure. Coming from you, yeah. Okay.
I was only 30. You're young. You're practically a god. You can do anything.
When you say Dirt Bike, it always makes me think of Stunt Cycle for some reason.
It's very much, it took one of the old sprint games and you put a handlebar in it for a dirt bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you actually twist the handle to accelerate, or do you have how would you?
I don't remember now, but I used it to to jump and stuff like that, pull up on her or something.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So you guys actually built the prototype and play tested. It just never made it past the prototype stage.
We actually, built a good cabinet, put the control on it, put the PC board and everything else in it. And the PC board was running the same as, it was just Super Breakout and Dirt Bike with basically the same board with different EEPROMs in it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Super Dirt Breakout.
Yeah.
How frustrating was it though to like have a game just about done and then Atari just goes, yeah, we're not going to do that one. It's like,
did that happen a lot?
Did that happen? Yeah, that happened very often.
Yes.
Yeah,
often.
Was there ever a game that you? Oh, I think Gak actually asked this question, or someone did about that, or maybe it was you, Mock, that about like, was there ever a game that you were really excited about that never actually came to fruition? Like never,
No.
they scrapped? Okay.
I started some games and it got to a point I started playing and said, this sucks.
Dumb.
And Bob
That's
Flanagan
one thing,
tested
but if
that
you have
and
something
said,
you really like that you think can be great, like I heard a story, I don't remember who the programmer for Tempest, but I remember them talking about how they knew it was a hit because people kept coming in to play it. So,
well, they come in and say, "Are you going home yet?"
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Yeah. Play your game.
Wow.
Hey, did you talk about is it Dr. Muto or Muto? I forget.
So,
Oh, the Xbox game?
Right.
Well, no, it was PlayStation 2. What else?
Oh, was it PlayStation?
A GameCube and Xbox.
Oh, wow.
Right. I love that. I don't know who came up with that concept, but that's pretty kind of bizarre.
I'm
Like,
what's his name? Oh, jeez.
Scott Abrams. I vaguely remember that one. Isn't that where you're a scientist and you turn into different creatures like a mouse and stuff like that?
Morph into different features.
Yeah, I think I played it a long time ago.
Wonder if I was working at Funkaland when
I thought it was an Xbox game, but maybe it was. I have it wrong then. Okay.
I think it was a GameCube game.
There's an interesting story about that sort of fits my personality, because at the time I was the lead programmer on that, so I was leading a group of programmers. There were two, Bob Lang and I think Dave Ortiz were doing the engines for the 3 different platforms, but I was the game programming side. And my programmers were all on the other side of the wall, so instead of walking all the way around to get to them, I had known that, well, no, there used to be a door here. So I'd ask the facilities, do you mind putting the door back so I don't have to walk all the way around here? No, we don't want to do that. So I brought a hammer and saw him one day.
Nice.
Oh, geez.
I hammered where the door was and not make sure they didn't put any electrical work. And of course, head of facilities walked by this time. Oh. What are you doing? I'm going to create a door. If you'd come by 15 minutes later, there'd have been a door there. Funny story is, a couple days later, there was the real door there.
Aha!
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Just a little hole in the wall.
The power of suggestion.
Yeah.
So in the IRC, Major Havoc, that's Owen Ruben, I think,
yes,
said that to ask you about Warlords and Malibu Grand Prix. And by the way, Malibu Grand Prix, is that sort of like Sprint era?
No, I did a game called Malibu, which is an XY driving game.
Oh,
and
XY.
And so, it was like a Night Driver, but it was trying to do real
graphics.
physics, drifting around corners and stuff. And then Pole Position came out and sort of blew me out of the water.
Right.
Now, he had a game that was called Grand Prix that had a monitor above and a mirror below. And I think that was one of the games that Owen Rubin was working on. And Gene Lipkin came in and killed it. That may have been one of those Gene Lipkin, killed games from Owen. Owen Rubin was working on that one.
I remember there was this Sebring or something like that. It was
Sebring?
Yeah, there was like a monitor above your head or something.
Yeah, it was. There was a Sebring game too.
So, what about Warlords? Did you work on Warlords?
There was a Space Lords game that I worked on. There's actually 2 of them by that name I worked on. Warlords is a game done by Greg Rivera, I believe. 4 different quarter games, and it's was very interesting because when the guys came in, management came in to review it, they wanted to play it, and they got into a situation where they were betting.
Yes, and that's definitely a classic for us older folks. Maybe not when we were kids, but now,
right,
for sure.
And then I was going to do a Space Lords version of that, a little different themed, but similar gameplay. And this is one that we started, Bob Flanagan and I did, and we got to a point and said, this is not fun. We killed it. So the next game I did, which somebody said, how do you do a 3D game in 2D where you're flying around basically a universe, a wraparound universe? And so that's what Space Lords was, which is a multi-cabinet, 2-player per cabinet.
Yeah, game. I know the cabinet now. Yeah, it's got like there's dual control thing,
and the radar to sort of help you orient yourself.
And it's kind of angled. The monitors are kind of a little bit of an angle, almost like a Nintendo versus upright, like a dual upright, or the.
Well, it's different. Different monitor per player.
Yes,
because you're in a first-person view, but
and you had was it a joystick and like a thruster or something like that? Yeah.
Wow. Oh, cool. Someone have a picture.
Try to arrange, full 3D, and yet really have, first-person perspective with the radar screen. It was interesting to try to do that, and that was just to see if I could do it.
So did it actually have a Z-axis as well for flying in the 3D space, or was it all just XY?
It was 3D space, but you used a 2D, forward radar, a radar that basically told you things around you. It was really simulated 3D.
It's like Squadrons, Andrew.
Right. Well, Squadrons actually has a Z.
Three guys coming at you.
I know. Well, the radar works the same though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right.
I posted a video, a YouTube video, if you guys want to see it in the chat or in an IRC. Oh, there we go.
Let me back up here. Oh, that's not it.
No, that's not the coin up.
No, I hit
Jumped
the wrong
video.
Son of a bitch. Let me I'll queue it up here. Let's see, where's that link? Let me stop sharing here. I'll redo this. I just had it up too.
Yeah, you hit rewind or
I hit like the
earlier
back
video
or something. Some stupid technology.
So Ed, you maybe I misread this. Did you leave Atari at one point and then return back to them later?
Yes, around 92, 93, I went to EA because I was trying to get into consumer games.
Right.
Okay. And I got there and they said, well, starting up cleanup, we want you to help us there. And I said, all right, I'm fine.
So you went back to Atari
about a year and a half, and they finally
93 or something?
Yeah,
so the thruster on the left and the kind of flight yoke on the right.
Yeah, the flight controller on the right.
It's Last Starfighter.
It's hilarious how it shows you the
that's
controls.
cool. It's everything scales or it looks like it.
Yeah, it's growth motion object hardware.
That's jargon above me.
Right.
I think Zyla had this at our arcade.
Did she really?
Mm-hmm. That's where I saw it. Running.
The demo of the hands and stuff reminds me of Afterburner. Oh, that's cool. A Troid. You got asteroids?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a 50-cent game.
Well, if you wanted to be a co-pilot, the co-pilot is basically a gunner.
Oh, this is cool.
Interesting.
Huh.
I get to adjust the levels for the different components.
Pretty deep for an arcade game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Kind of reminds me
What
of
year did that
Rampart.
come out around?
92.
92, okay.
2 years before T-Mech.
Speaking of reverse and forward.
Can you shoot the asteroid?
Oh, the images of the fighters reminds me of Star Fox a little bit.
Yeah.
Dual barrel.
I've never played this one. So.
Ahead of its time. Yeah, I would like to play it.
That almost has a Laserdisc feel to it.
Oh, you're right.
The graphics on the asteroids
EGA
as they
graphics.
get closer. Huh.
Macquarie. I could see how a lot of different games would get ideas from this one.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
What did Space Lords do? Was it popular?
It was not. You know, it's
No.
it's
It looks
really
like it would
hard.
be.
You know, 3D is really hard for a lot of people, so it does
Hmm.
not fit in that easy to learn. You know, it's easy if you know what you should do. Basically, shoot anything that moves, but it's not necessarily easy to.
It probably wasn't a cheap game for operators either, right? 2 monitors, 2 sets of
it takes up a lot of
controls.
space, and it's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Hey, when you went to
what,
EA,
what hardware was that programmed on? Do you?
It was our standard growth hardware at the time, and I don't think we did anything particularly special.
So,
And
quick question.
Communication
Trip-
between the boards.
So when you got to EA, did Trip Hawkins get you, or was that Probst?
No, Trip was gone by that time. He was at 3DO.
Oh, I see.
Ah, 3DO.
Some good times.
So I was there for about a year and a half, and then they decided to kill the Coin-Op group, and they said, you know, why don't you look around, see if you find anything you like. And I looked around, I didn't see anything particularly I wanted, because, you know, they're all 40-man teams, you know, 20, 30-man teams, and I want to work another version of hockey or soccer or whatever. And at that point, I got a call from my former boss saying, you know, we'd like you to come in and do as a contract employee, do us a game for the N64. So I went back as a contract employee, basically to Tengen, which became Midway Games shortly thereafter, when Midway bought us. And so I did games for consumers from that point.
That sounds like a nice job. Anytime I hear like consultant or contractor or what, it's like, oh yeah, all right, I'll give some advice.
More freedom, more money,
a ton of money,
more control.
Yeah.
So I did Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey and N64 as a release product.
Ah.
So you go to that one. That was a favorite of mine. I played the hell out of that. I love the fact you could, you know, throw down your gloves and get into a fist fight.
that was part of the
like
original.
Blades of Steel, yeah.
The Coin-Op code. The thing that I liked the best about it was the instant replay, where you could see the puck bouncing off of legs and the edge of the cage and stuff like that. That to me, that's just the thing of stuff that I added.
Oh, sweet.
The interesting thing about it is, of course, the Silicon was done by Silicon Graphics, which is or Google or the History Museum is right now.
Yep.
So I go over there and, you know, we find out how the thing was working and stuff like that. But there was one day that I ran into a problem. I got to a point it was giving me the wrong answer. I do a matrix multiply or something, it'd give me the wrong answer. So I sent a test case over to them and didn't hear back for a couple of weeks. So I called and I said, hey, you know, I sent you this case and what's going on? And there was silence. Can't talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me, but I'm working on a game. I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
There'll be a formal announcement. Goodbye. So a couple of days later, there's an announcement that there was a problem in the Silicon. If you multiply zeros consecutively, you get a wrong answer. So I think they added no ops between some multiplies. So they changed the linker so it would add no ops.
So you had discovered a big oops.
Yep. Silicon error in the Silicon.
Ah.
Oh.
The only one I remember from that era is the Pentium issue, right? There was some.
Oh, the
Pentium.
desolder yourself?
Yeah, something like that.
Put yourself into a spin and desolder yourself in the board. I guess the heatsink wasn't working.
What heatsink?
Yeah. Isn't that right, Gak? You run into that all the time, don't you?
Totally.
Sorry, there's an inside joke here where.
Oh, I can desolder like a mofo. Will the circuit board ever work again? No, probably not.
That's why you don't hang the processor upside down.
Words of wisdom, yeah. Yeah, we always give Gak a shit because, like, when in the arcade hobby about soldering and how everyone, you know, does with monitors and stuff, you're doing a cap kit or you're replacing caps, and doing a lot of soldering work, and GAC doesn't do a whole lot of that. So we always give them any opportunity we have to give them shit for not for using a soldering knife.
So right now, I'm just a tad over 13 years having my first arcade games now. And I've done like maybe 4 solders in that time.
he is the master of trading services.
Yes. So now I was going to ask you, Ed, so you mentioned Rush the Rock console. Did you do the arcade version as well?
No, I did not.
Okay. Interesting.
That was done by the hard driving team.
Oh, okay.
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 Because that was I picked up 4 games was my first game purchase. And 2 of them were Rush the Rocks. And man,
Actually,
that was an awesome game.
The thing I like, one of the best games I enjoyed doing the most was one of Rush 2049. The battle mode,
that's another
battle mode on that is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
A couple interesting stories when we had our 3 Midway offices, one in San Diego, Chicago, and Milpitas, and I found out the guys down in San Diego, every lunch hour they go up play, Rush 2049, 4 of them, and the 2 of them were up in our office that day, and they said, basically they beat everybody in San Diego. I said, I don't think you can do that well here. So I got Todd Pappy and one of his guys. They beat him like 15-1. They said, "You're right." Yeah, they did this 2 or 3 times. And they said, "You're right. These guys are really good."
So I think the Rush the Rock, there's 2 things I really remember on it. That one was like there was modes where you could basically mirror the tracks. So instead of it starting out with a right turn, it'll start with a left turn. It's the same track. It's just mirrored. Like I swear there was an option for that in Rush the Rock.
I don't remember that, and certainly not in the N64 version.
Okay. And then the other one was I could have sworn there was I'll call it an Easter egg, I guess. There was something you had to do with the steering wheel pedal combo, and you could unlock another vehicle, and it was like a school bus or something like that.
That I think was part of the coin-op.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to, the coin-op.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about the coin-op flipping the thing, but they certainly could.
Right. Because I've we have lots of friends that are software engineers that like to reverse engineer the games, and there's a couple guys we know that do the pole position stuff, and that's like one of the ones I've suggested. Like, man, if you could figure out a way to just mirror the track, just to make it different, because everybody knows pole position so well, the track how it goes, but just mirror it.
Then you could call it pole disposition.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it seems like it wouldn't be that difficult. I mean, I'm not obviously I don't have that ability, but it seems like it wouldn't be that difficult because you're mirroring the image and you're mirroring the controls.
Well,
the thing you have to flip is all the scores and the words and stuff because they'll be all backwards.
Well, you don't flip the controls, but if you flip the video, you've got a problem because all the signs in pole position are reading backwards.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, all the logos and words and
it's
stuff.
It's different to put them on the other side of the road. That's as opposed to just flipping the video.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's why we're not engineers, Ed.
Exactly.
We can't think of this stuff.
We can barely solder.
You guys haven't programmed a cocktail cabinet yet, have you?
What'd you say, Ed?
You haven't programmed a cocktail cabinet.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Touché.
man, I can imagine.
Yeah. Wait, did you do any cocktails?
Centipede, for example.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
That has the screen flip, yeah.
I love that cocktail now that I think about it.
I think Tetris did it too, right? Where you could actually both play simultaneous.
Atari Tetris.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. It did.
It's side by side. Oh, you were talking about the
cocktail
version.
Cocktail version of Tetris.
It has it turned around, so each person gets half a screen flipped.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can both play simultaneous.
Yeah, exactly.
But on either side of the cocktail, yeah.
Boy, I don't know if I've ever seen.
If you ever see a cocktail centipede, play the second player. You'll do a lot better.
Really?
Oh,
Why is that?
Oh, why?
Pro tip.
Because somebody made a bug.
Awesome.
An
You know
oopsie
why?
bug.
Because Sean
So
has
what's
a
the bug?
centipede.
Well, you know
What's the
how
bug?
the screen is where the spider reduces his range as the score gets higher.
Right.
Well, and the second player, I did this. Wrong direction.
So you just stay at the bottom.
So you can stay on the bottom. We won't hit you.
Oh, that's
Oh,
simple.
wow. Nice.
And I found
We go for a world record.
Yes.
Ever.
I found out because the industrial design department said, you know, we play Centipede all the time in the cocktail cabinet we have in our office, and second player always does better. Show me. So I walked over and watched them. After they played a few sentences, I said, oh shit.
Now I believe the circuit board is just a dip switch setting, right? To go to vertical or upright or cocktail. It's probably a dip switch setting.
It could have been.
That'd be interesting. But then you have to figure out the controls so you could still play on an upright, but on second player if you didn't have a cocktail.
No,
you would have to rotate the monitor or flip the yoke.
Up is still up.
Yeah.
Because I actually, Dave got rid of his Centipede recently, but I acquired one just like 2 weeks ago from my next door neighbor, no less.
Oh, hey, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I've been working on that since I moved here, like almost 2.5 years now.
I remember you talking about how you saw, and you've been.
They saw me moving all the games in my arcade in the garage, and they were like, "Hey, do you repair these?" I'm like, "Well, that's a gray area." And I said, "Well, I can help you probably." And then a year goes by, and they're like, "Well, we think we're just gonna get rid of it." I'm like, "Hey, let me know. I will definitely buy it from you. And then, a few months later, how much you want for it? And I made an offer. And then 2-3 weeks ago, out of the blue, my neighbor texted me, "Hey, we're ready to sell it if you want to come get it." Next day, I rolled it 50 feet over from their garage to my garage.
Easiest move
quickest, easiest sale.
Yes,
ever.
exactly.
That sounds a hell of a lot more pleasant than my experiences out here, where we're trying to do stencil work on a Miss Pac-Man, and inevitably during the most crucial moment of like working on this paint, someone comes by, "Hey," and they want to talk to you about what you're doing, and you're like, I'm a little busy here. How do I not sound like a jerk here? But can we talk later?
That's
you always want people hold up hope that maybe they're stopping because they have like, oh hey, I have this, I have this vector or this game that draws these lines, and
we had one lady come by that we tried to get on the show too, just that did all the silk screen work for Atari for the cabinets.
Oh wow!
He did and it was, we talked for like 20 minutes, and it was super interesting. She was very like, and then we were like, "Hey, would you like to we would love to talk about that. We do this little like podcast thing. There's not that many people that watch. We try to like downplay it because she seemed real." And she just wouldn't she was like, "No, I get nervous." And I'm like, well, it was almost to the point where I was like, "Can I record an interview?" And
yeah, I was gonna say do that. Just talk to them and play it, and take a photo of her. Just play the interview with their picture.
What was her name, by the way?
Oh man,
I don't remember. That was a couple of years ago now, I think. Yeah, okay. It's been a long time.
She just pulled up. She was in her car, and she just rolled down the window, and we started talking. But she did a lot. She worked the artwork, the painted, the silk screening, and she had all kinds of like we talked for a while, and I'm like, it was killing me not to get this.
Yeah, she was really interesting. So I live in the Bay Area, so I live over on the coast in the Bay Area. So there's some. I live in a little town over by Half Moon Bay. So
What's it called?
I live in Montera.
Okay, I was there for lunch.
Today?
No, I was in Pillar Point, the harbor.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so funny. You do know the coast then. That's great.
Well, I went down to Pescadero because there's some beaches that I wanted to check out. So I spent the day down there.
Awesome.
That's great. I love Pescadero.
If you ever want to come out and sign for Cybots,
there you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
And by the way, Ed, if you're back in the Sacramento area, you said your daughter lived in this area. I'm like the next town over from Sacramento. I'm in Rockland.
Which one? Oh, Rockland?
Yeah.
She's in Roseville.
Okay.
So when
Ed
does his tour, he can.
I'm literally like a mile and a half from Roseville. Yeah.
Just bring a Sharpie, Ed. Bring a Sharpie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in a year because of the COVID.
Yeah. Scott Evans, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, Scott's up there.
He's in Roseville too. Yeah.
I haven't
Cool.
talked to him in a while. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since I talked to him too, but yeah, I think he's doing all right.
Bob talked to him a few months ago. He's kicking it. He's good.
Yeah,
Ed,
I
did
see
you
a
have any
Facebook
work
post
with,
here and there from him.
Did you do any work on Asteroids Deluxe?
I did not. Dave Shepard. I worked on
Okay.
Asteroid Deluxe.
That is a brutal game. I had one, and I think it was the original code or whatever. That was just like super insane hard.
Rev.
I love the art and like the boom sounds and the way it's got the 3D background, but the gameplay just made me furious. You know, like
It's really
God
hard.
damn it! I
hard.
just want to punch the screen. You know?
Too hard. Yeah.
Raging Gak.
Yes,
Was
but I do
really
actually have a regular Asteroids now too. By the way, got that.
By the way, there's
You
a-
got Asteroids.
Yes.
There's a version of the Asteroids EPROMs that gets rid of the lurking problem because so many operators asked us, can they fix that? So we gave them a version and they tried it for a while. It would kill their collections and they would take it out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like got to be that sweet spot where it's like enjoyable enough to play, but not too long.
Yeah.
2.5 minutes, right? 2.5 minutes per quarter.
Before it was 90 seconds. And then you got to extend it. And it depends. I mean, the first time I saw Asteroids being played in the arcade, was up in Sacramento. Guy walked up, must have died in 15, 20 seconds. Put another quarter in.
You suck. No.
Yeah.
No, the thing about Asteroids is it makes you realize I suck. It's not the game killing me.
I should have got out of the way. I shouldn't have shot so many boulders. I should I should have waited.
Shot that many all at the same time.
Yeah.
That was me with iRobot today. This crowd's yelling so much at that game.
Is it working?
It's working.
What?
Sorry, spoilers. We'll talk about that out fire.
All right. Yeah.
This is Ed's
I'm over the moon. So happy.
He's had that game
Ed,
forever, though.
you should chill with us after we go off live too. So
I wanted to ask one more question. Ed, what are you doing these days besides being retired?
I do some puzzle. Just for curiosity, I did a Sudoku solver for a while, and until Andrew Stewart, and then I found out 2 days ago his solver has been pulled, and the site is no longer up. So SudokuWiki.org does not exist anymore.
Whoops.
But I basically did my Sudoku solver, and I had Hidata solver and but other solvers. I'm implementing Risk 2 as well because I like the original Micropose version, the same time Risk that I like so much. But it had a bunch of bugs and things that were just irritating as shit. And I think his
like
really
based off the board game Risk, or is this something
based on the
else?
board game Risk. But there's a same time version that Micropose did, where everybody makes your moves in secret, and then it's revealed what everybody's moves are, and they do battles in specific orders. Like if you try to fight each other, those battles are done first. So multiple people attack you, then as those battles are done next, and so on.
That sounds cool. That sounds like a new
That's really
twist.
cool.
Interesting twist of the game.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
played
much
as a kid. I
faster
played
because everybody's doing everything at the same time. And you could play it online, but I'm not worried about that. I just wanted to play AIs are a little smarter than the dumb ones they have. And I think generate. There's a few other features that, for example, I added luck. Because a lot of times you play the game and say, God, I really feel unlucky. And so I added a computation that computed really how unlucky you were or how lucky you were. I've never seen it in a game before. So doing things like that.
Like luck is in like the dice rolls?
Right.
And just, yeah.
If you're like, for example, I play Risk 2. I played today where I lost 8 times in a row and I had a 40% advantage of winning. So how often does that happen? Not very often.
We don't do math on this show, right, Mark?
No, that's math.
But it would happen consistently, battle, I lose 14, and win 2. And it's like, I had the advantage every time.
That's a lot of bad luck.
Every die rolls. Because in that game, your die are based on the number of attackers. So
Right.
to get 6 or more, you've got a die that's got better faces that he has and who's defending. And attackers always win defending on equal rolls and the same time Risk. So, you've got a 60-40 or 70-30 chance of winning depending on, what color dice you're using.
Yeah.
But to have the 40% win 8 in a row is just like, no.
Something's not right
that
here.
sounds a
Yeah.
little.
I mean, I'm used to being freaky, but this is just ridiculous.
Does your wife play Risk or any
No, she plays Go and things like that.
Okay.
So, besides golf and jigsaw puzzles, and I used to bowl, but bowling lanes are closed, so I can't bowl anymore.
Yeah, I know.
COVID's killing us. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Can't wait till this
I used to
over.
vacation too, but I'm not getting out at all.
Can't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
I remember. Now you get to go to Pescadero.
Yeah, twice a year. I've gone there. I had I collected rocks. I would do rock polishing, and our dog groomer looked at my rocks. Oh my!
Oh,
God.
Andy Dufresne. Nice.
Yeah. How do I do that? And I said, well, buy a polisher. And so I took her down to Pescadero, my favorite spot, and went and picked up pockets full of rocks, and so she polished them, and sent them to her friends in Japan. She's Japanese, so she sent them to her friends in Japan. Really nice. So I have jars and jars of polished rocks that I give away to anybody who wants them.
And in this hobby, we buy rock polishers. We buy rock polishers to clean up coin door parts now.
Yeah. Random screws and bolts.
Yeah,
and
little tiny metal pieces. But
have you guys tried the quarter on a string routine?
I have not.
I have not.
The old trick is to get a quarter and you tie a thread
like a
to
fishing
it.
line, like a
You stick it in and you jerk it up and down, and it just adds money.
Bling, bling, bling.
Yeah, until they made the quarter cutters.
So they added the cutters.
That's why they had the quarter cutters in the later doors.
Yep.
Wow.
Definitely.
Actually, do any of you own a quarter cutter? Because I've never really, at least
I'm pretty sure I have a couple with them.
Okay, because
I have a couple machines.
I don't know if I'd even recognize one. I haven't tried the monofilament or like the fishing line or whatever on the quarter, but like I don't know if I'd actually recognize a coin mech that had that on there, or is it on the? No, it'd be on the mech itself, wouldn't it?
It's on the mech.
Yeah.
It's when the coin goes through something. And
that's gonna be a new YouTube video for me. I'm gonna go through all of my fucking.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm like, nope. That's a great idea, actually.
I want to say, like, I remember seeing a sticker actually on the coin mech that said, I don't know if it said the word coin cutter, but it said something on it.
Don't try or die or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had one of our Atari employees. We have a local, Golfland's our local arcade, and he went and ordered, 100 pounds of coins from some vendor, and he got caught.
Now, how many quarters is that, Carrie? Quick math job.
You're saying
50 pounds was.
Yeah.
Are you saying tokens?
8,000.
You mean like tokens, right?
Tokens, yes.
Yeah.
And he brought them into Golfland and used the foreign tokens. Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, brother.
So that's one way to get around things too.
How hard is it to drill a little tiny hole though through a coin?
Well, you could probably epoxy a thread on too. You probably wouldn't.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, and then later,
he's got a project ahead of him.
The other trick was getting
totally
a couple pieces of packing tape that you tape a box up with, like clear tape, and tape it to a dollar bill, and you put it into the dollar bill acceptor, and then slide it right back out. So it thinks you put $1 in.
Really?
Oh, so it has enough time to scan it, but
yes.
then you.
So this was like, all right, yeah. Truth be told, this was like late 80s, early 90s soda machines.
You heard about
this. You could put it this $1 in, slip it right back out. It gives you the soda you want and change back from your $1.
Oh shit!
Which you didn't actually put in. So it's paying you to take a free soda.
Wow.
But the good old days, Gak.
Yep. You'd wind up with like a case of soda and $10 to take to the arcade.
That was before they came out with the bill of validators that could actually flash update their firmware.
Yeah.
Although the 2 Mega Touches that Dave sent me have really old bill validators in them. I don't even think they take the newer 5s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But to be fair, those bill validators hold their value. You could probably get at least $80 for each of them. And Dave got his those 2 Megatouches for free. They have fully functioning touch screens. All the hardware works. The only thing other than the power supplies and one of the I/O boards, which I have. So that's you guys weren't on last week, but Dave sent me 2 Megatouches to fix up. I got them both working, and he got them for free. Unfortunately, the one that he wants was beat thanks to UPS. Had broken plastic pieces everywhere. The bezel, Oh, by the way, Dave, I got an update from. They said that they received my pictures, and they were going to send you the whatever their response was, and that was the last thing I heard.
Oh, cool. Because I have insurance on the shipping.
Yeah.
So I told
Andrew,
the guy.
Does that sound familiar?
I don't know why people ship those things. It's crazy talk.
I go, it's free. I go, all I want is just the insurance to cover the shipping because if it arrives broke, then it's no good to him or me. You know, I mean, he's gonna fix it, but the guy's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
And Ed, this is just I'm bringing this around to our countertop conversation about the touchscreen games. I'm trying not to pull anything away from your stories. This is our roundabout arcade talk.
I thought you were going to come right around to the flattened arcade game out in the middle of the street he was talking about earlier.
Oh no!
Anything else you want to ask me about?
I'm sorry.
Anything else you want to ask me about? I've got a 7 or 8:30 tea time tomorrow.
Oh no, we're wrapping this up right now.
Oh, good for you.
Nice,
In
nice.
fact, that's probably a good segue because
Yeah.
we're approaching 11, 1.
Yeah,
or wherever we
it's
And
let's wrap
Ed,
it up. So
you know, thanks for coming on.
yes, thank you
And,
so much.
You have an amazing body of work you've done in your life, you know, that really has affected a lot of us old school arcade guys, you know. Like I had no idea all these games you actually did that I've probably spent hundreds of dollars on when in my teenage years.
So true.
Totally.
And still going on.
Thanks for
to
taking
this
all that
day.
money out of my pocket, Ed.
I'll blame Atari for that.
You know how many newspapers I had to deliver to pay for those games?
Now we all know what name to curse when we
I
have a
stole your
shitty
milk
store.
money the whole bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your paper route.
Yep.
Stealing money from dad on the dresser.
Yes.
I used to do that.
Triple checking
between the
sofa
cushions.
Yeah.
The cushions. Yeah.
I used to get like something like $3 or $4 a week allowance for lunch money, and I would buy a 25-cent milk for lunch, and that was it. And the rest I would save for arcade money for the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
That was like 1980, 81, 82. Those are those years for me.
That's a damn good allowance, I gotta say, because
Yeah.
It was
I
lunch money.
grew
It
up
was
on
like
$1. Oh.
it was like, you know, $1 a day for lunch or something like that. You know, but I would just get a 25-cent milk. You know,
Mm-hmm.
call that my lunch.
Dave will get a 25-cent Bud Light.
Eat when you get home, right?
That's right. Starving.
Yeah, I'm starving.
He was
Hey.
intermittent fasting, as they
It's
say.
okay. We got off back then like
Okay,
2
so
o'clock.
We totally did, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
being on.
thanks, Ed.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ed, thank you
Privilege
so
to
much
get
for
to talk
joining
to you.
us.
Hey,
It
come
was
back
a real
anytime if you want to.
a real treat.
Yeah, I told Lewis too that like it'd be cool to have one where you former Atari guys were on at the same time. I want to
All
see
you.
some stories of you guys
You
riffing
and
off each
Bob
other.
and yeah, Owen.
You guys would have to be quiet and let us do all the talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
would just
would.
be drinking in the
And
background.
Yeah.
we would just throw out a question once in a while.
Yes, there you go. Perfect.
Who was
The Atari
smartest?
guys banter. Yeah.
Who's got the
Okay.
highest IQ?
Good night, everyone.
All right.
So
All right,
yes,
take
take
care.
care.
wrap up
Thank
the
you
show.
again.